this morning, just as a staff, how excited everybody is, myself included. I woke up this morning and it felt like Christmas morning, right? Like, hey, you're headed to the office.
Well, that'll free up my Saturday nights at least, as far as viewing goes. No random Oregon State, Washington State at 12:30 at night. All of that will be somewhat missed.
No, you're right. I'll tell you what.
But that was nice when I'd come home after a long day. Now I won't be doing that, so I guess it wouldn't.
Who was I talking to today about it? Lewis? I said, if it's a noon, 11 o'clock start, we would be there at 6 o'clock, 6:30. Not leave until...
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Earl Wells is in the slot. The game. Duggan. Throw to the end zone. Incomplete. Baylor remains unbeaten. They come into Fort Worth and get the win.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Going from Mims, and no sticky Paul snaps it in. Touchdown, Baylor.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Going from Mims, and no sticky Paul snaps it in. Touchdown, Baylor.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 Radio?
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust me.
I have a stack. It's about an inch thick of stuff that was up until maybe an hour ago college football related and sports related. That's what we do. And in some cases, some interesting stories along the way. We will have a doctor who specializes in the heart from the Mayo Clinic today at 3:30 on his thoughts on what was the latest narrative and or reason that was given as far as what doctors were telling the Big Ten or the Pac-12 about COVID and some of the concerns. Doesn't mean he's saying that people are wrong, but his thoughts about it. He specializes that he's from the Mayo Clinic. You can't get much better than that. And then, of course, Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, today at 4:10, not 4:20. I think the Big 12 is going to have a conference call at 4:30. And so today, the Big Ten cancels fall football. The Pac-12, within an hour, they follow suit. Isn't that what we expected? Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, Dylan Chapman runs part of the mothership today, Sikkim 365 Radio. And also 254-339-1122. Get on the phone lines. Get on the text line. You give us your feedback. Is the Big 12 going to have
Balls to stand up along with the SEC and the ACC, yes or no?
I don't know, and I would phrase it differently. I'm looking at it a little bit differently. I don't think it takes balls to, say we're going to play. I mean, I think it takes balls to make any of the decisions that are being made right now. And so whether you agree with the Big Ten or the Pac-12 or not, it took balls to call off their college football season.
Yeah.
I think I really don't know. It's the Big 12, right? I mean, it's one of the most unpredictable conferences, especially when it comes to leadership and what direction they're going to go. But, yeah, they're the domino right now, according to all indications. 2 are out. 2 in the SEC and the ACC have made it known they're going to continue to plow through and try to get something done. And I think those conferences see the ultimate advantage they could have over the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, which is why the Pac-12 and the Big Ten wanted everybody to cancel, because they knew what they would be missing out on potentially if others still played a season. So I have no idea what the Big 12 is going to do. I would lean they're going to stick with trying to play for the time being, and I don't think that's the wrong decision.
Yeah, I think that the Big 12 just needs to step up and do the right thing and say, look, let's see what happens. Because if my biggest question is, if you're bringing students back to campus, what's the difference if they play or don't? That I don't understand. If the only people on campus would be athletes, then I kind of understand. Look, you can cancel the season because the only people you're putting in harm's way are the athletes, but you're bringing your students back to campus. So if you're bringing your students back to campus, what difference does it make if they play or don't? Especially if they're going to play, you're going to keep them in protocols all season long. So you're safer if you're playing than if you're not. If they're not playing, are they going to test guys twice a week?
If, in fact, they're not playing and campuses are allowing students, Wisconsin has over 50,000 students. Now, I'm sure, like Texas or A&M, two massive universities, a lot will be done online. I get it. But if you're allowing students to come back on campus, 254-339-1122, please call. We'll have that up for you in a second, but also the text line as well, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. But yeah, if you're going to have students on campus, you think they're all going to stay in their dorm?
Well, the majority of people that are going to be on campus are going to be non-athletes. What incentive do they have to conduct themselves the way the athletes are having to conduct themselves? They have absolutely zero. How many kids go to Baylor? And more than you would think. But how many kids go to Baylor and don't even follow Baylor sports? A good number of them. A good number of them do. So, there's going to be a lot of students across campuses that are like, I don't care about whether football's played or not. It's dumb anyways. Or, whatever. It's cool. But they're not going to stop going to parties. They're not going to stop going out to eat. They're not going to stop any of their activities because to them, life's not changing in any way.
A.D. Gene Smith of Ohio State on the Big Ten Network. The reality is the game is not like sitting in a classroom. It's not like walking across campus. It's not like wearing masks while you're in the lab. It's full contact. Bruce Feldman, this is the point echoed by some from the Pac-12 in the past 24 hours, why it's an added concern for playing football, not being in small groups, socially distanced for training phase compared to just being a regular student on campus. Go to the bars. I know some of them are shut down. These kids are going to find places to be fire ants and drink and do their thing. Pool parties and whatever else. The Big 12, I think, is having some sort of conference call at 4:30. That's why Mack Rhoades has moved up from 4:20 to 4:10. We'll hear from him.
Pac-12 is officially having a press conference at 3:30. That's when they're expected to announce that they will be canceling the season. This is no surprise. They had the tweet in their drafts now for the last few days ready to send out. They were just waiting to have the Big Ten tell them what to do, basically. And the Pac-12. If talking about balls, if you want to go back to that. If they had any, they would have done this last week when they know they wanted to, and they've just done it. And then, you know what? Don't worry about the ramifications of what the other conferences do, but they are such a follow the leader. They have no leadership, and so they're playing tag along with the Big Ten to no surprise.
Why wouldn't the Pac-12 have done this before the Big Ten?
Because they don't have any real leadership.
Because
they don't have any power.
Exactly, and the Big Ten had then pulled away the Pac-12. Well, yeah, but
that would have been the greatest thing ever.
I agree.
The Pac-12 done it, and that's probably what they were scared of. That's probably what they were scared of because it was a little bit of a question. Although it seems like the Big Ten's kind of had their mind made up. I guess there was enough doubt left that the Pac-12 realized, hey, if we do this, we know we have no sway. We're not going to really pull anybody a direction. So if we do this and everybody else moves forward, we are totally screwed.
Big 12 and SEC, this is from Ryan Rogers on the text line. I think the Big 12 and SEC will work something out. Spring football doesn't make any sense. Not adding up. Players are going to play 30 games in some cases in 1 year. So if you're Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, teams that usually go to the semifinals and the championship, you play 15 games. Is that right now? 12 regular season, conference championship game, semifinal, and championship game. You could be, if you go back-to-back, a possibility of 30 games in around 12 or 13 months. Ryan also said what happens to all the bars if college football is canceled. That affects a bunch of people. The conference is left. This is not just playing the games.
No.
This is financially and economically. You've seen what it's done to the country with some of the shutdowns. This is financially and economically catastrophic for college athletics.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
College athletics. For example, the Lady Bears bring in a lot of different fans. They also have boosters that will take care of, they need a practice facility. We know what happened. They won the national title. If there's things they need when it comes to the bells and the whistles, they get them. Kim's done a great job with that. But they still lose millions every year, even with their attendance being one of the top in the country, even with their rabid core fan base, they still lose millions. And so now what do you do?
And here's the thing. Everyone's focused on football. This is all fall sports. This is not just football.
Volleyball.
This is volleyball.
Possibility of the start of basketball,
Soccer.
which should start, I saw Scott Drew with the text yesterday, glad to have the guys back on the court.
So you mean to tell me, and here was the key word that I saw from the Big Ten that gives me no hope for the spring, was they basically said that they're hoping to have a spring season. They didn't say, hey, we're canceling fall football and then we're going to play in the spring. They said, we're canceling fall football and we're going to see what happens. So they have no plan for it. And I highly doubt, given what we've seen so far, that they're going to have some grand plan all mustered up here anytime soon, much less even by the time it rolls around, because who knows, they might already be thinking, like, we're not really going to play spring football. We just got to give everybody a little bit of hope out there, which wouldn't surprise me when you're talking about this type of money.
Kicking the can down the road or kicking the football past the 50-yard line. That's kind of like, hey, I know you're mad at us, but we're going to play in the spring. There's no guarantee you're going to do that.
Well, and there's other universities too, like especially those Pac-12 universities who have much larger athletic departments because they have all the swimming and the diving and all the sports that you may not even realize are college football sports in some cases. But if you're Baylor and you were looking at a regular schedule, you mean to tell me that if the Big 12 is going to cancel football season, which again, look, health over everything. I agree with everybody. I just haven't seen enough evidence to say that the health is so detrimental that there's no chance of anybody even trying to do this. That's where I am kind of at the crossroads. If the health is saying, like, this is a really bad idea, then absolutely we should do what we have to do. But if it's saying, no, like, actually this could be worked, then why are you going ahead and canceling it? So what I was trying to say is, so you mean to tell me that there's no fall sports? Baylor this spring from January through May is going to play baseball, basketball, cross country, men's and women's, football, golf, tennis, track and field, A&T, women's basketball, cross country, equestrian, golf, soccer, tennis, track and field, and volleyball. That's all going to be played in about 5 months next spring.
You're going to have to push things into July. I mean, honestly, you'd have to push stuff into July.
Still not enough time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe.
Well, some of it goes into June. Baseball, College World Series, track and field championships go. So. What are your 254-339-1122? Give us your gut feeling. I think the Big 12 stands up and says we're playing. That doesn't mean in a week they don't change their mind because we don't know what we might see in a week. I think the Big 12, 4 schools in the Big 12 are from the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's hot spots. Austin's one of them. I get that, but UT has put a hell of a lot of money into the protocol, into the testing. In the last time we heard, they had no positive tests. I get it could flare up. Lubbock and Waco, smaller towns. TCU's in Fort Worth, but still, kind of secluded. And then you have Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and then Kansas and Kansas State and Iowa State. These are all the Midwestern places where there's very little problems when it comes to COVID.
Well, what's going to happen if Iowa State plays and Iowa's not? How are you going to explain that one? Or what's going to, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to be an interesting thing to follow. And then, and Nebraska folks, they are not happy. They voiced that yesterday.
It's the first time Nebraska has shown any kind of hair on their chest in almost a decade.
Yes, and apparently the Pac-12, they're holding their press conference or whatever. It's either already, I don't care to listen to anything Pac-12 related, but seeing notes from it, whether it started or whether this is just little leaks here and there, apparently their vote, no surprise, was unanimous. So that's not a shocker at all. I don't know if the Big Ten's going to release how unanimous theirs was or not, but I am looking for that to see because there were a lot of people barking yesterday.
Well, yeah, there was, and some of them that were supposedly on that 12-2 side of the vote. The 12 side of the vote were the ones Harbaugh, Ryan Day doesn't mean they're not the ones voting. Time to call BS in the Big Ten. This is from 214. Spring ball, need to call BS on the Big Ten and others. Same conditions today will apply in the spring. Won't have everyone vaccinated in this country until fall 2021. That is what Fauci tells us. So all of these medical opinions will still be there in the spring. That equals no spring ball either from Paul. Thank you for the text line. And by the way, we will have Dr. Michael Ackerman from the Mayo Clinic today at 3:30 calling in on the show. Mack Rhoades at 4:10. Tim Brando today. That'll be fun at 4:40.
Yeah, I think so. I have so many questions about all this, and again, part of it is we're operating, every single person when it comes to COVID-19 is operating with incomplete information.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows really what's going on. So and you can pretend to, but that everything is kind of contradictory to one another, and I just get confused, and I try my darndest not to sit here and be an authority on anything when it comes to this. I just need to know certain things, and if the answer is, well, we just can't not do everything, then I get that, but that's not really the answer that we get.
No, and as I said yesterday, and the doc will be able to fill us in on this, because I definitely don't want to be a fake medical professional here, but a lot of people point out that part of the reason for wanting to perhaps start early was to avoid cold and flu season, but you're not going to. The Big Ten and Pac-12 will avoid it, but they'll still have kids getting sick on campuses and whatnot, and then we roll into next year where we think we'll have a vaccine, where we hope we'll have a vaccine by early next year, but that's no guarantee.
Yeah.
So, like the kicking the can down the road, you can find a reason to keep doing that for as long as you want to, but man, there's going to be a lot of crippling effects along the way.
How does this affect the college football playoff, which I know almost seems like irrelevant? Bill Hancock saying it's too soon to say. We're waiting guidance from the College Football Board and Management Committee. They're supposed to meet later in the month. By then, everyone will know the answers to what conferences are still wanting to play or not. But now if you have 115, if that's the right number, FBS schools, that includes the Group of Five, the Power or Autonomy Five, if you have 115 of those schools that are eligible to play for the national championship, when we know that's BS because about 50 of them aren't, 40 of them aren't.
Yeah.
Don't you have to have at least half of them remain intact to have a playoff?
Yes.
So if you lose one of these three Power 5 schools,
it's done.
ACC, SEC, or Big 12, the Big 12 has the least amount with 10, but that's still 10. You need to have those three, which gets you close to 40, and then you need to have three of the Group of Fives or more.
Do you think the Pac-12 and the Big 10 are just going to let?
Oh, I'm sure they're politicking behind the scenes right now.
Are they just going to let everybody else have the playoff?
No, dude, because they realize, like, that's what I'm saying with the Pac-12. The Pac-12, I think, got cold feet because they're like, well, if we go first, we have no sway whatsoever. Nobody cares what we think. So we're going to be left out on an island, and we're really screwed because we're already kind of screwed anyways. Nobody respects us. So the Big Ten allowed them to at least have company. The Big 12 will be very interesting. And if those three conferences decide to move forward, it would be very, very, very interesting to see. And I know I'm overusing that word, but it would be incredibly interesting to see what the responses of those two would be. Because I guarantee you there would be some big-time politics coming into play, because what would happen? They would lose a huge competitive advantage. If those three conferences play and they move forward and they have their regular schedules, you mean to tell me there's not going to be transfers galore?
Yeah, if you're Justin Fields, if you're one of those guys, I'll give you, who's the kid from Lake Travis, the wide receiver that's so good that committed to Ohio State?
Garrett
Wilson.
Yeah.
You don't start thinking, I kind of want to go back home.
Yeah.
I'm serious. This is
Well, and my big thing, too, is why not, if it turns out to be like, here's where I've always kind of been on it. It's one thing to just say, let's not try, which I don't vibe with that. I don't like that idea of just not trying because you're scared. If you've got actual facts for not trying at all, then great. I mean, show me some proof and I'll be all on board with that. But just being scared and therefore making decisions does nothing for me, because that's not why you should make decisions. So I'm just very curious as to why. I'm not really curious for the Big Ten and the Pac-12 because I know they never planned on playing to begin with. But for the others, like, why not just have a game? And if it goes well, then have another game. And if the numbers don't skyrocket or go crazy, then have another game. And if they do go crazy and they skyrocket after week one, then you shut it down. But you at least try and see, because what happens if the Big 12 and the ACC and the SEC all go play and they have a full season? How dumb are we all going to look going, damn, Pac-12 and Big 10, everybody else just played a full slate, and you guys, you just sat there. And I get it's different in different parts of the country, but I don't see the harm in trying, because if harm starts to show itself, then you just stop and you shut it down.
And so we were thinking by today or yesterday, but Baylor might be able to tell us who their non-conference opponent's going to be, and that doesn't matter right now. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it was I don't care if it was Penn State, Ohio State, or if it was Florida. It doesn't matter. Mack Rhoades at 410, Dr. Ackerman today at 3:30 from the 903 in East Texas. CBS Sports reporting 15 cases of myocarditis.
Myocarditis, yeah, that's the big
among
concern.
Big Ten players recovering from COVID. Any reports about the Big 12? I don't know that. We can ask Mack. Heard earlier the virus discussions, Baylor football, men's and women's basketball earned a profit. Most women's sports do lose money, but a small profit report. No. Baylor's women's basketball team, as good as they have been, as core amazing as their fan base is, as many season tickets as they sell, loses money. It does. And there is
that's not
healthy as any women's basketball program among the 4 or 5 that you know, UConn, Notre Dame, among others.
And that's not a knock on them in any way. That's just the reality. You're just stating the facts. I mean, it's very well known that
I would have thought that they would have broken even because of TV, because of the national championships, because of all that, because of the revenue, because of the tickets, because of all that. Not even close, because they still fly and travel like they're a Division I men's basketball team, because that's kind of what the standard has been, and they earned that.
And let's not forget, too, that this damage financially is going all the way back to last March.
No, yeah, they lost the money in the NCAA tournament.
Everybody did. Mm-hmm. And what gives you guys out there any hope that March Madness won't be canceled again? I mean, given the trajectory that we're on.
Yeah. Also, by the way, isn't this a chance for the Big 12? I mentioned earlier, do they have the you know what's just doesn't this give the Big 12, which is kind of like among the Power Five, they're fourth. You have the SEC and the Big Ten. ACC has actually moved into probably third. Pac-12 at 5, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't you think that this gives them an opportunity to kind of prop themselves up from a decade of a lot of the bad slogans and some of the not really knowing what the hell they're doing? And really they are as close, it appears now, as they've been in over the last 2 or 3 years than ever.
This is the time, if the Big 12 wants to continue on their upward trajectory, because I do think there's been some upward trajectory the last couple of years. I do. I think that they have established that they are a better conference than the Pac-12. They're not necessarily the laughing stock. I think, obviously Oklahoma and Texas have had their moments, but a team like Baylor jumping up and having a great year. I mean, they were in the mix last year. The Big 12's always in the mix. So yeah, I would say fourth. Just they've got 4 less teams than all of the others above them. So that makes a little bit of a difference. But this would be the time for them to say, you know what, we're gonna do this. We're gonna ride this momentum, and we're gonna ride the risks and just see what happens and let it play out. And I know somebody earlier brought up myocarditis, and the doctor can bring that up, or we can discuss that with him. But that is the reason that's being cited by like the Big Ten or the Pac-12 for like their big grave concern. Although this is not new information, they've had this information, and this is something that's not caused by COVID-19. It can be, but it's also caused by the common cold, H1N1, mononucleosis. It's a viral infection. It comes with viruses.
Speaking of which, Dr. Ackerman from the Mayo Clinic, all amateur athletes need our help now. This is one of his tweets. He put up the article, Paul, that was about the Red Sox pitcher. I told you to kind of go through all of it, read it thoroughly. He's going to join us in the next 10 minutes. He said, the SARS-CoV-2 can infect the heart is not news. It's not new news. COVID-19, myocarditis, and even SCD cannot be the data used to cancel college football. Has common sense disappeared? He's going to join us, not because he maybe agrees or I agree with him, because I want to know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Ian Fitzsimmons from ESPN. Has Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren told his own son, who plays for Mississippi State, that he can't play due to safety concerns?
Well, he was cool with it a few weeks ago. I don't know what changed there, but Ross Dellinger, who's been all over this, he's one of the better college football reporters out there right now. He says, sources tell Pat Forty and I, Big 12, the linchpin in today's events is very much split on a decision. A small group wants to cancel. A small group wants to play. A larger group wants to delay. 80s meet today. 80s and presidents meet jointly around 5. Sources also tell Pat Forty and I that ACC presidents have been in constant communications with counterparts in the Big 12 to gauge their plans. If the Big 12 were to join the Pac-12 and Big 10 in canceling, ACC would feel compelled to do the same. Iowa's
AD Gary Barta told Mitch Sherman of The Athletic, my understanding of membership of the Big 10 is there's membership criteria, and playing outside of the conference would violate that criteria. That's not something we're looking at. So there goes that option that Nebraska or Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State or anyone else, if they were interested in saying, oh, my God, we're going to be a free agent this year and we're going to figure it out, it appears as if based on the criteria within the conference, and the conference had to obviously know this. Is this March 18th? What was the day? March 11th? March 11th is when things were shut down.
Yeah, I was fired after my birthday, so that was a few days.
Yeah.
So I don't, Tim Brando will join us from Fox Sports at 4:40, Mac at 4:10, and again, Dr. Ackerman. 254-339-1122, the text line. We've got a couple more responses.
If I'm the Big 12, I would rather, even if it ends up being the wrong decision in the end, I mean, how wrong could it really – I understand we're talking about, a lot of potential things, so I'm not trying to be insensitive at all. But, I mean, I would rather, even if it's the wrong side of history for this particular decision – because you don't have to keep playing a season if guys are getting COVID. You can shut it down, as I suggested earlier. I would rather be wrong with the ACC and the SEC than be right with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten in this case. I think it'd be so much better to at least try than to not try at all. That's where I stand on it. And I'm all for, like I said, shutting it down if it becomes a problem. But
all right, when we come back, Dr. Michael Ackerman from the Mayo Clinic. I was stunned when I just emailed him, and he responded within maybe a couple of minutes, and then his PR department at the Mayo Clinic set it up. He'll join us next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, their summer sales event continues on. They have extended it, so you have even more time now to take advantage of employee pricing for everyone at Richard Carr during the summer savings event. You pay what employees pay all month long. Right now, qualified buyers can save over $7,000 on 2020 Acadia, $7,000 on 2020 Yukon, $7,000 on 2020 GMC Terrains. If you're looking for a truck, you can save $8,000 on a 2020 GMC SLT Crew Cab. They've also got the SUVs like the Buick Enclave. It's one of the best-selling SUVs so far in 2020. It's a uncompromising full-size SUV with first-class seating for 7, a quiet interior ride, and loaded safety and tech features. Right now, you can save $7,200 on a 2020 Buick Enclave, plus save thousands on the 2020 Buick Envisions and Encores during this summer sales event. You get great prices, free oil changes with new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service. All comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr Motors are the people you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor alumni. They just want the chance to earn your business. So stop by their daily disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to your home because your comfort and safety is Richard Carr's first priority. Find them online at Richard Carr, that's KARR.com, or Highway 6, the Imperial Exit.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change. Your change.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Dr. Michael Ackerman, Director, Winland Smith Rice Genetic Heart Rhythm Clinic and the Winland Smith Rice Sudden Death Genomics Laboratory at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. My God, that's a long title, which means you're involved in a lot of things. Dr. Ackerman, I know that you have a lot more important things to do than talk to us, but I did notice earlier today your tweets about what's happening with some of what are the concerns with conferences, and now 2 of them in the Power 5 shutting down. Can you try to explain myocarditis and what that really comes from and how much of that is associated to COVID?
Yeah, and first, thanks a lot for having me on your program. Full disclosure, my son's a junior at Baylor University, so I Sikkim Bears.
Oh, cool.
Had no idea.
Myocarditis.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most important title, is I'm a dad. So myocarditis really is heart muscle infection. And so the heart muscle can be infected by many, many different viruses. The annual flu virus, influenza, can cause influenza myocarditis. And we've known for months now, that this particular virus You can get viral-mediated myocarditis from this specific virus. You can get SARS-CoV-2-mediated heart rhythm problems. And so this part really isn't new at all. And so my concern this morning was really for the sake of my patients out there who have sudden death predisposing genetic heart conditions, for which we've told them over and over again that they're not at increased risk. And I did not want them suddenly wondering, what's the deal here? Is their heart going to go crazy if it gets infected by this virus? And the answer is almost always, no, it won't.
So, I mean, how different is this? Is not really different than most other viruses, correct? When it comes to myocarditis?
Well, we don't know for sure whether this virus can more easily infect the heart muscle. We don't know the date compared to, say, influenza or adenovirus, the common cold virus. All of these viruses can do it. We know how this virus infects the heart muscle in terms of what it uses to hijack and gain entry into the heart cells. And it may be easier to do SARS-CoV-2 myocarditis than influenza myocarditis, for example. But we don't know that. And every year on college campuses throughout the country and the world, they will have their viral myocarditis cases due to influenza, parvovirus, adenovirus, Coxsackie virus, any of a number of viruses. But this obviously is the new virus in town, or at least the new virus since early 2020.
So, Doctor, when the Big Ten, I guess there's been reports that they have, perhaps up to like 10 players who are showing signs of myocarditis. That's not necessarily even COVID related. I mean, just to be clear, that could have been from, like you said, regular influenza or some other type of sickness.
It could be, but assuming that athlete already had documented SARS-CoV-2 virus from the PCR test or the antibody test, I think one has to conclude that the reason behind their myocarditis is this COVID-19 mediated virus. I don't think one should conclude that it's probably a different virus lurking out there. I think that's a pretty easy 1 + 1 = 2 kind of connection to make, and I would spot them. That what I don't know is what exactly did they mean, or do they mean by myocarditis? Is this a very sick athlete where we clinically suspected it? Is this an athlete, because of the positive PCR tests for the virus, that they then quickly did all of the cardiac tests and showed that the cardiac MRI showed some signs of early inflammation? And are they calling that myocarditis? Are they myocarditis in heart failure where the pump is not working well? So under what's being called myocarditis could be, a lot of shades of gray.
How much it happened to Eduardo Rodriguez. I saw you posted that article from the Red Sox. How much does stuff like that, it happened to this one guy, is that dangerous to kind of fuel fires when it comes to things like this?
Well, anecdotes are powerful, aren't they? And sometimes anecdotes, stories, run well ahead and way faster than the evidence can catch up to and justify the anecdote, or put the anecdote in perspective and say, yes, that's awful that the baseball pitcher has SARS-CoV-2 myocarditis. It's not a surprise because that's not a new finding. We know it can happen, but what's the context? Is that a 1 in 100? Is that 1 in 1,000? Or is that a 50-50 proposition? And we know, for example, that less than 1 out of every 10 COVID-19 cases in the United States are 22-year-olds or under. Less than 1 out of every 10. So you have to start putting that anecdote, which is a powerful symbol and story, and then see if the evidence will catch up to it and confirm it and say this is a big, big deal, or whether the body of evidence will say, yeah, this is an important anecdote and it can happen. And are we as a university or a town or a community prepared to mitigate the risk and navigate through and around it? or do we have to wave the white flag and say we have to do a system shutdown because we're concerned that this is going to do a run through our campus or our community? And so what we do about the anecdote, I think there's room for good, healthy debate. And I think it needs to be clear to the audience that the anecdote is running way in front of the true body of evidence as it relates to the true full-blown clinical myocarditis, where you don't need the MRI to make the diagnosis. Now, but that's where it's always dangerous to then take that study, well executed, good study, and then quickly or immediately transfer it to, red light, 5-star alarm for 18 to 22-year-olds or for 12-year-olds, because it's just not fair. It's not correct science. It's apples to oranges, and it might be apples to watermelon, comparing a 50-year-old COVID-19 patients, of which 2/3 of them were sick in some way, so symptomatic. Only 18 of them were completely asymptomatic and no symptoms. And then draw a conclusion that this virus, if it happens to infect one of our college kids, athlete or not athlete, that it will cause the same level of cardiac muscle damage if we got cardiac MRIs. We don't know that answer. That answer could be yes, it applies to the 22-year-old just as much to the 50-year-old, or the answer could be this is not connecting the dots at all when we look at 18 to 22-year-olds who have no symptoms but have a positive PCR test, or who have the sniffles and go in and get a positive COVID-19 test. It doesn't mean at this point in time that 78 of them are going to have an abnormal cardiac MRI, 78%, indicating that they have viral evidence of inflammation and infection. And so this is what I mean about the evidence base running a little bit too quickly, or a lot of bit too quickly, to a generalization to a group of very healthy young men and young women who are on college campuses.
I was just wondering, when you say that about, this evidence is running too quickly, is that partly because we've only been in this for less than a year? How long does normal medical research take when it comes to something like this?
Well, this is unprecedented times, isn't it? So we're going to look back at all of our pronouncements and see how many of them were spot on, how many were way off. It's going to take months for the dust to settle to see how good we did, and I think credit to the universities. I'm obviously partial because I've been getting the emails from the president of Baylor, Dr. Linda Livingston, and I haven't never met her, but shout out. I think she and her team have done an amazing job. As a parent, I feel like I've been very much kept in the loop. Enough so that my son will be heading back to campus. Not an athlete, but I think the moves that the campus have made are doing their best. Will it work? Will the universities have to cancel and send people home for remote learning? Time will tell. Will it have been a mistake to bring them back on campus in the first place? Time will tell. But I've seen enough to say my son's going back, and if he were an athlete, my son would be playing. But that is how I've concluded the body of evidence based upon my vantage point. But sound-minded people can probably come to a different conclusion, and that's okay. It's just that I want my patients to know that if there are reasons to not do football this fall, they need to be much more than SARS-CoV-2 causing heart muscle infection. They need to be reasons like we on our campus and in our conference, we're just not confident in our social distancing strategies, in our testing strategies, in our reporting strategies, in our quarantining strategies. Then I would say, okay, thumbs up, you're making a very transparent decision. But if they try to pin the primary reason that this virus is just lurking to get every athlete or many athletes or a lot of athletes with damaging the heart muscle permanently, then I would cry foul, and I would say there's just not enough evidence to justify you using that reason as the primary or driving reason to recommend cancellation of a season.
Doctor, I know there's so many unknowns. It's all very interesting. You're giving us great information. But we've seen with some of these conferences now, like the Big Ten and the Pac-12, saying, hey, we're going to attempt to do this in the spring. Is there any medical evidence thus far that indicates that somehow COVID-19, I mean, outside of the hope for a vaccine, but is there any evidence to suggest that this will be far less of a problem in the spring minus the vaccine? Or is that, I don't know, how realistic is that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Obviously, that's kicking the can down the road, hoping that we're a whole lot smarter than we are now, and we will be, no doubt. I mean, we're going to learn from this university exercise across the country how good of an idea or not good of an idea was it to return 18 to 22-year-olds to college campuses across the country. Is that going to change the fact that right now 1 out of 10 cases are under 22 years of age? Is that going to increase as we convene students who may or may not do a great job of social distancing, mask wearing, washing hands, all the things that we know work, but they only work if you do them. So we're going to learn more. We're going to learn how many schools had to send the kids back home, athletes and non-athletes. And then obviously we're going to learn about what is the extent of heart muscle involvement over these next 3, 4, 5 months as people are doing studies to reproduce or generalize the observation from Frankfurt, Germany in American patients who are not 50 years old but are 20 years old. So there will be much learned, and obviously if we get a vaccine that is a grand slam and is a curative type vaccine like the oral poliovirus vaccine or the mumps, measles, rubella MMR vaccine, and if that's available by January, February, March, then we're in a completely different chapter of discussion. But if the vaccine either doesn't work, which we don't know yet, after all, we've been working for a long time for an HIV vaccine and there still is not one, or if it works but not great, kind of like the flu vaccine, then we all will be coexisting with SARS-CoV-2 for a long time, and we're going to need to figure out how and do in what ways do we do and live out this coexistence.
Well, I tell you what, I was told that you would be able to break down something that's very complicated and make it and put it in layman's terms, and I believe Paul and Craig.
Yeah.
And the reaction we're getting from a lot of people that are on our text line and Twitter, that you're killing it. And you got to understand that I was the one that was more worried about me understanding what you were saying probably than anybody else. I am not asking you at all to discuss the decisions that have been made today. But if you were the person representing a conference, is it fair for me to ask you what you would ask them to do?
Yes. I mean, I think that's fair. If I were involved in that way, I would simply say from everything that I've seen so far, if my son, who's a junior in engineering at Baylor, going to be heading down there in a week, if he were a university athlete, he would be playing if he wanted to play. I would see no reason at this point in time to discourage him or think that I am sending him into harm's way recklessly. And the next question you might quickly add to that is, yeah, but do you love your son? And I do. I love him very much. So from everything I've seen, I would not invoke the heart as the reason to cancel a sport. I could understand if the university said, we just don't have our house in order. We don't have testing in order. We don't know how to track and quarantine and isolate and test. Because after all, remember, my son got his kit from Baylor University in the mail. He will come sending that swab in. He'll arrive SARS-CoV-2 negative. As a non-athlete, that's it for him, unless he develops symptoms and concerns and goes to or calls the hotline. That's not going to be the oversight of the athletes on a Division I university. They're going to have way more touch points. How are you doing? How are you feeling? What's your temperature? Are they going to be checking their temperature every day when they come to work out, so forth and so forth? So there's going to be way more oversight that a D1 athlete is going to get than a D1 artist or a D1 engineering major. And so I just think if it's okay for my son to come on campus as a non-athlete, then he should participate in all the activities. And if he were an athlete and he said, Dad, I want to play, for me, as his father, my answer would be yes, and that would be my answer to any conference or any committee that asks my opinion on the matter.
We did not, when I contacted you by email, I surely didn't expect to hear back from you, and you did almost immediately. And then, of course, the people at the Mayo Clinic, they were fantastic. Tracy Klein contacted me as well. I did not have any idea. It's so random that I would just see your tweet, contact you, and then you have a son at Baylor. That's crazy. Is his first name Anthony? What's his first name? Because I just looked up on Baylor University, and I see an Anthony, but there might be 20 of them. I don't know.
No, my son is Jens Ackerman.
Okay, all right, Jen Ackerman. Okay, well, we got to go. We got to eventually, hopefully, be able a chance to go see him, and hopefully, it would be somewhere where he's able to get around, and so are we. Seriously, Dr. Ackerman, Paul, Craig, anything else from you guys?
I think that's good. Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot, and it's good to just have some non-agenda talk about what all is going on.
I don't know if I can get through your title again, though. I really don't. It's amazing. Dr. Michael Ackerman, director of the Winland Smith Rice Genetic Heart Rhythm Clinic and the Winland Smith Rice Sudden Death Genomics Laboratory at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. There's 100 other things he's attached to. Dr. Ackerman, thank you so much, and thanks to the Mayo Clinic for making you available on such short notice. And hopefully we were able to help educate some people today. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, David, Craig, Paul, thanks a lot for having me. And wear your mask, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and let's all stay corona-free for as long as we can.
You too.
Take care, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, Dr. Ackerman. That's blown me away that his son's a junior at Baylor, and so that was awesome.
Jens, I think is what he said.
Jens,
yeah.
Well, if he comes down for parents' weekend, we gotta
see him.
We gotta see him.
That means I hope that they're hopefully they're
whatever
B1.
there is. Hopefully next year.
I just saw a note. It just flashed up on my phone about the Pac-12. Not only are they canceling football season, but this is the basketball teams as well. Is that correct? Did you see that as well?
Sports,
Yeah, fall sports. So that includes the Big Ten. Now, I don't know how much of that made sense to you. If it made sense to me, then I think all of us had a chance, because that was my biggest concern. He would be talking right over my head. Thank you to so many of you that reached out on the text line. Questions, a couple of them we were able to report, ask him, and we really do appreciate everybody and your feedback. At Sikkim365 Radio on Twitter, at Paul Catalina, at Craig Smoke, at David Smoke, at Dylan Chapman. Dylan, Paul, pop him up real quick. Dylan, go ahead, because I want to get you involved too.
DChap977.
DChap977. And so when we at 410, Mack Rhoades, I've had a lot of you. How come he's moving up at 410? Is that bad news? You need more time. He cannot go past 4:30 today because we know the Big 12's having their meetings
around 5 apparently.
Yeah, and so there's going to be a little bit of that. I also have had a few of you ask me about Dr. Livingstone and what would her angle be. I don't know that, but I do know this: she's in and was an athlete in college. So you would think that she understands what the athletics mean. She's also in charge of the entire campus, faculty, staff, students, everybody. But I have a feeling, and I will be surprised if let's say the Big 12 votes to continue. If 4 of the 10 say no, I'll be surprised if it's Baylor. I could be I'm not trying to speak for her by any means. She's a very strong woman. She doesn't need my opinion. I just feel like because of a lot of the things that are there, and I think Baylor has spent an inordinate amount of time the right way to get ready for campus and get ready for the athletes getting back on campus.
And so far, the highest number has been 15 or 16 cases, right, since they've come back. They don't have any empirical evidence to tell them that playing would be bad.
Yeah, I don't know what.
At least on their basis.
They had a spike this week. It was up to 8 cases, but after I think it was like 1 last week. But, based on what we've heard from Mack Rhoades, up until last week, I would have said for sure Baylor's voting to play. Last week was the first time we really heard, I think, some real concern on his part. But I don't know how much of that was like concern in terms of medically and how much of that was just concerns in terms of making it work and making it actually happen because of all the things that still need to be taken care of. So I would say I would lean that Mack would probably be pro football. I would think you got to throw Oklahoma in there. I would think you throw Texas in there. I don't know about everybody else, but there's 3 that I would think are pro football out of 10 unless, Mack Rhoades has changed his mind.
Couple of notes here. The liability, I know we've got to take a break. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll have a segment at 4. Mack Rhoades at 4:10. Tim Brando, he'll be unleashed, unedited, and he'll go all off on everything college football at 4:40. David Hellman and John McClain on the NFL in 5. Hey, love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Back in a moment.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom-ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family-owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
The big big summer clearance event is still underway at Allen Samuels in Waco. Now update your essential transportation needs with 0% financing and no payments for 90 days on almost everything in stock. Brand new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cabs, ready to roll with 0 for 72 and no payments for 90 days. And Ram Tradesman Express Quad Cabs feature up to $8,500 in values. We'll save you thousands at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Going from Mims, and no sticky Paul snags it in. Touchdown, Baylor.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, we are way behind on many things that matter, but not information. The responses from you, it's fantastic. We appreciate it. For Dr. Ackerman from the Mayo Clinic, we appreciate you and his time, and the fact that he still the connection to Baylor blows me away. Joe Biden selected Kamala Harris as his vice presidential running mate. That's a national story for today. Now, we will have Mack Rhoades in 10 minutes. I saw this note on the concern about liability, because we've heard that, Paul, right? The liability concern. For college football, colleges are all open. Colleges have more liability, would they not, with regular students on their campus than athletes?
Yes.
They're the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's just student hyphen athlete. Right.
That's what my point was the whole time. And Dr. Ackerman completely backed that up and said, look, if my son's going to go back to campus and study engineering, he could certainly go back and play football.
Exactly. And how do we know if someone does become infected where they get it from, if they're on the campus? And so, yeah, you can do some tracing. But once the kids get on campus, the young men and women get on campus, the liability excuse is just another this is kind of what we do. All right, Paul, there's a Tombstone picture, which is my favorite movie ever, right here in this, our studio.
I hung it there just so you could
it's my favorite movie ever, and Saving Private Ryan is it's in that discussion. But Tombstone is just amazing. And all of a sudden you say, David, shoot a hole in that picture. And I'd aim between Douglas and Kilmer.
Uh-huh.
And I go to is that right there, right? And then you move it to the right where John Wayne is.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens here.
Yeah.
We're in that kind of mode in this country that no matter what it is, we kind of well, this is the problem. We fix or we think we have it corralled. No. Now this is the problem. Now we understand this is a moving target. This is a balloon in the air that can move based on the wind. We get that. But it's
exactly that. It's exactly that. So I don't know. The thing is always going to change. It's going to move constantly and constantly. And I think that Dr. Ackerman then, kind of also something I've been saying on the show for weeks is we haven't been studying this for that long. There are not medical studies. That's why when you hear this thing about a vaccine in Russia, first of all, it's from Russia. Don't believe anything they say. And second of all, medical research, I don't think there's probably ever been anything when you say hey, how many tries did it take for you to figure out how to cure polio or all this other stuff? And you wouldn't believe it. First try.
So the Pac-12 sent out a document that was outlining all of their reasons for why they've decided to make this decision. And there's one brief mention of the carditis at the very beginning, but there's not some lengthy explanation. We learned far more from our interview just now about it than anything the Pac-12 said. It seems to me they're hiding behind liabilities. They don't.
And I just mentioned why that is a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's becoming clear because if there's not the medical evidence out there right now to postpone, which the doctor said there's not as of right now, that he would send his son to school, to campus right now, and if he was an athlete, he would allow him to play. I mean, that sure beats the narrative coming out of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten on the exact same issue of carditis in particular.
So my liability, if I'm a university, is just as great from a football player than it would be from, like he said, an engineering student.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I came back to campus. You guys didn't have enough safeguards in place. Boom.
Yeah. Sign a waiver. Hey, there's already been players volunteering to sign waivers, and I understand they're still young men, but they're men. They're old enough to make their own decisions. They're old enough to choose their college and go play football and make millions of dollars for you. I think that they have every right to be ones to make their own decisions.
Yeah, at the ACC, the Dr. Cameron Wolf, Duke infectious disease specialist today, we believe we can mitigate it down to a level that makes everyone safe. Can we safely have two teams meet on the field? I would say yes. Will it be tough? Yes. Will it be expensive and hard? Lots of work for sure, but I do believe you can sufficiently mitigate the risk of bringing COVID onto the football field or into the training room at a level that's no different than living as a student on campus.
That's the thing. It's like there's not a difference.
Yeah.
We're trying to pretend like football has like some extraordinarily higher percentage of getting it, and there's no proof that it does.
So yeah, UK, are all those students going to live, the kids that live in dorms? And believe me, I tried this because I had a really weird roommate the second half of my freshman year. Are you going to get all your private? Is everybody going to have private rooms and not share bathrooms? And
of course not, Paul.
We've all been in college dorms, right? All four of us here.
Dude.
How clean was your bathroom?
Isaiah Austin had a book signing a few years back, if y'all remember that.
Yep.
And it was the first time I'd walked onto Baylor's campus. Or no, it was the second time. But it was one of the first times I'd ever walked onto Baylor's campus to go in like an actual building that wasn't athletics related. And I went in the common area, and you could just smell the smell of the student body. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you just realize, like, it brought back so many memories, and it just makes you realize of just, there's germs everywhere. There's, like, everybody's coughing, sneezing, doing whatever. Like, it's dirty college kids.
18-year-old frat bros aren't going to get miraculously cleaner because of this.
No, they're not.
They're not. So
I don't know, man. This is all so crazy. It's all so crazy. And we're being told, I mean, just like anything else, being told different things from different folks with different agendas and different scientists, apparently.
BK Bear on Sikkim365.com in the premium section. You're killing it. Love the energy in your voices. We can't wait to hear Mack Sikkim. Mack Rhoades. Now, I don't know what he can tell us, but we know he will tell us whatever he can. Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, is next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters, where Jay Arrett has built this powerhouse, nearly 20 years now, over 20 years in business, a way to add accessories to your pickup truck, your SUV, your car, or even minivan. Bumpers, grill guards. I mean, you want it, they got it. And then, of course, there are the bed covers, whether in a lay-in and spray-in bed liners. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. And if there's something that you just feel like you need to add to your pickup truck, for example, let's say you have a pickup truck, but there's no bed. That's fine. You see them all the time. But you're always having something that's important, something that's cargo, something that you really don't want others to see, because then if they see it, they may want it. And I'm not saying that if I see something in the back of the pickup, it might be a bag of trash as far as I know. But they have retractable, hard-folding, one-piece lids, hard and soft roll-up bed covers, removable paint to match. And it's about security if that's what you want. Keep things secure from dishonest people. Shelter from the elements as far as the wind, the rain, the dust, and more. And the privacy. Nobody's business what you have in the back of the pickup truck. And extra storage space if there's not enough room in the cab. Pickup Outfitters, createacommotion.com. Professionally installed with Pickup Outfitters' lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. It's a worry-free purchase. Pickup Outfitters, now plus 20 years in Waco at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Mack Rhoades loves being on with us no matter what's going on in the world of college athletics. He actually wanted to come on 10 minutes earlier with us just to lengthen the segment.
Not true.
All right. Do you want a high, hard fastball up against your chin, or do you want maybe an underhand softball pitch?
Now, let's start high, hard fastball underneath the chin. Let's go there.
In your opinion, not that you're speaking for anyone else, if the Big 12 votes to continue to play football or not, what do you think the vote's going to be?
That is a hard inside fastball. I think that I really, I think right now as we're speaking, I think everybody's trying to, grapple with not that we didn't see it coming, but I think there was certainly uncertainty about whether or not the Big Ten would go in that direction, and the Pac-12 as well. So I think everybody's grappling with it. My sense is that if we voted today, it would be a really, really, or voted right now, it'd be a really, really close vote. I can tell you what I'm not doing a great job of answering it, but I can tell you what I'm personally struggling with is, I don't want to be forced into making a decision. And, I want to make sure that we've got enough information before we make the decision. And there's certainly, a variety of medical opinions, right? You almost feel like if you're going to a trial, you're going to go get the expert witness that best supports your stance, right? But man, there's so many questions for me. So if you've got two Power 5 conferences not playing at least until after January 1, and you've got potentially 3 that do, what does that mean for CFP? Is there one? What does that mean for bowl games? If they're bowl games, if they're not bowl games, CFP, not CFP, how does that make our student athletes feel, right? Do our student athletes want to use a year of eligibility when potentially only 3 conferences are playing at the time? And so there's just a lot of those questions. Do I feel we can move forward safely and put our student athletes in the best possible position? I do. I believe that. If I'm a student athlete though, right, and if I'm a Big 12 student athlete, an SEC student athlete, an ACC student athlete, I'm asking, okay, sounds like the 2 other Power 5 conferences don't think it's safe. Why do you think it's safe, right? And we better have a great answer. So this is, as this is really, really tough, really, really complicated. And again, I feel like for me personally, and you could say, well, Mack, what more information are you waiting for? I feel like if I have to vote and make a decision today, I'm doing it because I'm placed in a corner, and I would like to have a few more conversations and gather a few more bits and pieces of information. If we stop playing, what does that mean for our student athletes, right? I don't want to send them home. I want them here. I want them with academic support. I want our coaches to still be able to pour into them, for us to still be able to pour into them, right? I want them to still develop, spiritually, mentally, physically. What does that mean in terms of practice, not practice? So, I'll go back to the original question you asked. I think that, I do not know which way the Big 12 would vote right now if we had to vote. If we had to vote and make a decision, and you know what, we at the end of the day may say, hey, we're not ready to make that decision. Let's delay.
Are you ready to vote? If you had to vote right now, or you mentioned you didn't want to be forced into a vote, what would you say?
Yeah, I don't think that I can. This is obviously a big decision, and I don't feel like I personally could vote today and feel like, man, I really voted whichever that way was for on solid footing for the right reasons, right? I think there's a lot of motion going on today. I think, if I was providing counsel, I would say, let's pause. Let's take 1, 2, 3 days, right? Let's gather ourselves and let's really, and again, we've been thinking through it. It's not like, we haven't known that this day is coming and it's upon us. But for me, there's just some things that I'd want to have some additional and further conversation before we voted.
Mack, the question I keep asking is, if they're going to bring students back to campus, what would be the difference if you had athletes playing sports or not, if the students are there on campus?
Yeah, Paul, it's a great question. And again, you know, I spent at least an hour, if not more than an hour last night with our medical staff and talking about, you know, don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what I need to hear. Right. And, meaning that, I want to know the truth, right? Is it safe? Is it not safe? Right. And, you know, as I said earlier, I think that, you know, I feel really good that we can, you know, provide a healthy, a safe environment. Now, something may happen, right, in the upcoming days or weeks that we, you know, all have to be able to say, sorry, that's we're not comfortable now. We've got to hit the stop button or the pause button, whatever, right? And Paul, you just alluded to it. That could be, you know, what's the dynamic? What happens when the general student body returns, and how does that impact? You know, our student athletes and the you know, positivity, you know, the percentage of positive cases, right? What happens if, you know, when we put pads on and we have contact, you know, when we have practice, right? And does that do anything in terms of, you know, the number of positive cases? So, you know, I would, again, I'm in a place right now, just being completely honest and transparent. I am not comfortable making a decision today.
Well, then don't. Right? I mean,
well,
don't let do you think the Big Ten and the Pac-12 would give a damn what Mack Rhoades said if they decided to keep playing and you guys didn't?
Yeah, I don't know that they would. I don't know that they do. And that at the end of the day may be where you know the Big 12 lands, right? I'm one of probably at least 30 that are going to speak into this, right? Mm-hmm. You have 10 presidents, you have 10 ADs, and you have 10 team physicians, and then there's probably some other folks. So, you know, I'm one of many, but I also get a sense and a feel that there are several others that are saying, you know, let's not be forced into it, right? Let's make sure we really think this through, all different angles, before we you know make that final decision.
Mack, the myocarditis, which is the heart thing that popped up, that we had a guy on, and you don't know this, you're in the middle of Zoom meetings, but he's from the Mayo Clinic, and his son's a junior at Baylor. And we didn't even know that when we had him on. But he said that his son's coming back to campus. He's already had the swab test, whatever. He's headed back to campus. And he said to us, and this is a guy at the Mayo Clinic, a doctor that studies the heart, that if his son was a student athlete, he would send him back to Baylor and be good with it. This myocarditis, is that something that's got people spooked a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I think that probably, I think there's two things that have been hard for people to get their minds and wrapped around, right? I think one is testing, right? And can we test at the level that we need to? So can we test twice a week, three times a week, right? And I think for every institution that answer may be different just because of where you're located, right? Availability of testing, relationship with third party testing labs, all of those things, right? And you can't put your student athletes out there, right? If you can't test at a certain level. And so that's been one. And then I think this whole issue, myocarditis, and how COVID-19 impacts the heart tissue, heart muscle, right? And I think it started with the study out of Germany, right? And then there's been a lot of certainly interpretations, a lot of opinions. It's serious. And who do you listen to? Who do you believe? Full transparency. I know who you talk to. I got on the phone with them because I wanted to know.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to just listen to anybody. Right. I want to, or a different opinion. I wanted to hear it myself. Right. It's why we, met with our, physicians yesterday again. The last thing any of us want to do is put our student athletes at an undue risk, right? And again, I haven't come to a conclusion, at least today, that by continuing to play and practice that we're doing that. Okay. I'm not going to tell you that every one of our student athletes feels 100%. I think, I think it's, this has impacted our student athletes differently. I think some are obviously more worried than others. If COVID has impacted them or their families, they probably think about it a little bit differently than maybe others. I think I can say pretty confidently that a majority of our student athletes, feel safe and wanna participate. So you think about that component, that aspect as well. So, obviously no easy answer.
Yeah, and I know you've got to go. There's this thing that you're getting ready to do that could impact the Big 12 forever in your university and the athletic department. And it sounds like I just don't understand why the decision. No one cares about my opinion on the vote, but why, if you don't have to vote? If in fact you don't have college football, based on you didn't have basketball, if that becomes the decision, how catastrophic will that be for Baylor University and athletics around the country?
I think I think it's going to have a lasting mark on college athletics. I'm at peace with Baylor athletics specifically. I think the way we made decisions 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I think that, we're going to be okay. We'll get through this. Okay. I think, the financial piece of this is, quite frankly, and I'm, whether it's fair or not fair, I don't know how you play other sports if you're not playing football. If it's not safe for football, then I'm not sure how it's safe for others. And there's some other sports that may be low risk. I get that and I understand that. But then the other piece is, I don't know how financially you incur the costs of other sports competing if you lose the revenue for football. So, that's where we're at. And again, at the end of the day, I just want to make sure, and maybe that's just me being too conservative. I just want to make sure we don't go and make a decision because we feel forced to make the decision.
Mack, what is your early view on a spring football season?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I'm not saying you can't pull it off. You certainly could, but I think it's a limited number of games. And again, I just know I'm having conversations with our student athletes. If it's going to be a spring schedule and it's going to be 6 games, I'm pretty confident in saying that, our student athletes, if that's going to count as a year toward eligibility, they're not interested. They're not going to want to play. Now, if it's not going to count toward a year of eligibility, they'll play 3, they'll play 5, they'll play 6, right? I think, you get into, again, additional health and wellness questions, particularly when you talk about the sport of football and the physicality of it, right? When do you stop, right? How much time do you give off before you start, the summer stuff? Is it really good in terms of having that type of physical contact on somebody's body, within that amount of period of time, somewhere, starting probably around March, and then, you get a little break, but then you're right back at it, and you're going back at it, sometime end of July, early August. So, not saying that it can't be done, but I do think it's difficult.
Good luck. Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thank you all. Yep.
At Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, with us on, again, a lot of people are texting in and tweeting, direct messaging that he sounded ominous. But in the end, he said, I do not want to make a decision because I feel like I'm being forced to make a decision. He wants to, and I can understand if everybody wanted to, and I don't understand why the Big Ten or the Pac-12 didn't want to. Why did the decision have to be made today? And I think, Mack, if he had to make a decision today, some of you are feeling as if the way he talked was that he would say no.
I brought up when we were kind of counting down the Big 12 and how we think they would vote right now. I think we all agree Texas and Oklahoma you feel like would want to play, right?
Yeah.
Colt sent us a link. TCU Athletics sent out a tweet, and it's got the frog waving the flag. We want to play. That's from the TCU Athletics site. So I would assume that you count them as well. So there's 3 of the 10. With Mack, I would have counted him as the 4th about a week and a half ago. After last week, I said earlier, I was starting to kind of question that a little bit. And I think it's not ominous so much as just I think he's really thinking this thing through and not trying to be like everybody else who's like, just give us a decision. Give us a decision. We have to make a decision. No, he actually wants to kind of let this thing bubble. And if you ask yourself, why should the Big 12 vote today? Well, why should they vote today if they still have questions? Why August 11th? I know at some point you got to do it. You can't keep kicking the can down the road. But why today and not 2 or 3 days later, as he suggested? It would basically be because, hey, the Pac-12 announced and the Big Ten announced, so now we have to announce. No, you don't. No, you don't.
I agree. And most of the reactions from you, and again, we've got a lot of text line. Tim Brandon will join us at 4:40. Carl Campbell, mad props for him for even doing the interview. He seems to know he seems to know based on he's going to get canceled. I got that from a couple of different people. There was a time during the interview where I felt like, man, and yet, when I said, do you know what you're going to vote for? He's not ready to vote.
Right.
And I don't think, if you're not ready, then damn it, don't vote.
But if you had asked him 2 weeks ago, it would have been a vote to play.
Yeah,
and so that's how things changed.
And that's when things changed, and that's when he got very, very, very emotional on the last question a week ago. Here's from the 936. That's in the East Texas, down in the Southeast Texas, kind of in between Lufkin, Nacogdoches area. What's wrong with saying we are continuing to evaluate, monitor the situation, don't feel we need to have to make a decision today. As of now, we are proceeding as if we will have a football season. And that might be what they do tonight. He's one vote, though. One vote. ADs and presidents, right? He said 30 votes? Is that what he said? I heard him say 30.
Yeah, I guess.
And there's always a school representative or someone like that as well.
10, and then everybody's probably got like 3, your president, your AD, whatever.
Let's not bury the other part of what he just said at the end. If we don't play football, we don't play anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been saying that all along. I don't know how you do that. I mean, I don't think people quite understand. It's not as simple as like, oh, we don't play football, but we're going to roll volleyball out there. No, you're not. No, you're not. So
you're not going to play tennis. You're not going to play anything. You're not going to run track. You're not going to do anything.
Right. And look, health should dictate everything. But there are a lot of other ramifications. And I don't think we should make decisions just because of ramifications necessarily. But you know what? There's going to be a lot of programs going down the drain if this moves forward. And it's going to be, I mean, it already is chaos, but it's just going to be even further chaos. This is not a position I would want to be in if I was him. He obviously, players have been sent home from the OU campus. Expectations are Big 12 will make a decision shortly to cancel fall season. That was from Tony Casillas. So he's not an authority. He is an OU alum. But that's something that Colt just passed along.
That does seem to me to be a little preemptive. Like if I'm having practice today, I may just say, "Hey, look, guys, let's just wait." Because the other thing that guys are going to come to practice asking their coaches, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What are we playing? Like, what are we doing?"
Right, and who knows? Maybe he's got bad information, but I just thought I would pass that along because he's pretty well connected. So
kids have been playing sports all summer. Professional sports are practicing playing. Why is that college football can't play? Why can't that happen? We need this as a country. That's from the 214.
I agree. I think we need some activity, some action. But
I did an interview earlier today with Abby Loring, and she's at KWTX. And I you know how you are. There's going to be a soundbite or two. And I was like, I know that it's about people being safe or whatever, but the mental health of this country, college football is a drug.
And you could argue that it's not always a good drug.
No, sometimes it's but college football and the NFL are a massive swath of what we do for about half the year. And hell, how popular it is even when they're not playing, much less if they don't play at all. That doesn't mean you go play just because it's a mental health issue. It's a health issue. But
I just hope that people don't bring up, and I'm not saying you're doing this at all, but I just hope that there aren't people out there suddenly citing mental health and never cited it before, or suddenly citing things that they never would have cited before simply because they want football to be played. So I hope everybody who's making comments like that is doing so with good intentions. But, I don't want football to be played just for my own entertainment and because I'm bored and I would like to have some Pac-12 after dark. I want it to be played if it can be played because I don't want this country to just go into a complete nap to where we're scared of our own shadows and scared to do anything and scared that until we get a vaccine, I mean, my gosh, we go that route and we never try anything, then this, it's just going to be real bad.
Hearing Mack speak about how you can't play other sports sends me straight to Butler and Teague, who decided to come back this season and turn down the NBA. College sports helps people get away from the stress of life for college hour or couple of hours. Mack sounded like a no to me. What does he know or what does he not know? Matt in D.C., the Oklahoma players were actually scheduled to go home this week due to the schedule change. Their first game, remember, was in late August, and now it's been moved back, which is against Southeast Missouri State or whoever. This is a day when we find out, we try to put on our big boy pants every day, and hopefully we have for you. And we're not done. Tim Brando with some truth serum from Fox Sports next on Sick 'em 365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Heavy, big, bulky, steel, metal, aluminum, things for metal buildings, things that are built. Customer service huge. You don't stay in business 77 years if you're not doing things right. If you, one, don't have great product, and two, you don't run the business well, and three, you don't have great customer service, and Pioneer Steel and Pipe has been doing that for 77 years. Family owned and operated. Metal buildings, components, metal roofing, structural pipe, 1/2 inch diameter up to 24 inches in diameter, all types of structural steel, including beams, flat iron, square tubing, angle iron, and channel iron. Large inventory, and if there's something they don't have in stock, which would be unbelievable, they will find it and get it to you immediately. Help with you in the project, suggestions on a design, offer high-quality materials. Competitors will bid buildings lighter to make them cheaper, and sometimes compromising the structural integrity. Pioneer Steel and Pipe will make sure that's not the case. offering fast turnaround time in the business on metal building orders. And again, they will deliver the product to you, unload it for you, and make sure you get everything used of what you need, to build what you're building. Any questions, you can call them or get on the website, pioneerboys.com. Open Monday through Friday, yes, in both Waco and Bryan, and Saturdays in Waco and Bryan from 8 until noon. PioneerBoys.com.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
What are you supposed to do when you pull up behind a truck that doesn't even have a hitch? I mean, it's like looking at plumber's crack. Do you cover your kids' eyes, look away, and switch radio stations? Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, asking for your help to end this embarrassing form of truck nudity. If you have a truck, at some point you need to pull something. It could be a trailer to haul stuff off to the dump, maybe a jet ski, a boat, an RV, a horse trailer, even just a bike rack. The point is, put a hitch on your truck's backside. And at Pickup Outfitters, we actually install more hitches than anything else. Whether it's a receiver hitch, a gooseneck, or a fifth wheel, we'll cover your aspirations to not drive a nude truck. And all hitches are covered by the Pickup Outfitters lifetime installation guarantee. So cover your rear end with a new hitch from Pickup Outfitters on Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we're fighting to end truck nudity in Central Texas. Check them out on our website at createacommotion.com/hitches.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sanders in trouble. Ball is loose. It's picked up by the Bears. It's Terrell Bernard. It's touchdown.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
We'll have Tim Brando from Fox Sports here momentarily. Craig, a couple of notes that you have based on the Big 12?
Well, not so much on the Big 12, but the two who have decided to call it quits today, the Big 10 and the Pac-12.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Although they're saying they're delaying. How much faith does this give you from the Pac-12? From the Pac-12 Medical Advisors Report, it is anticipated that over the next few months, rapid point-of-care tests will become more available. No chance of spring football without accurate or PT care testing, per John Wilner, who's as locked into the Pac-12 as anybody can be. So if those tests don't come about by spring, there's no spring football for the Pac-12. So you already know, you see the road we're heading down, right? With this. Meanwhile, Wisconsin Athletic Director Barry Alvarez said teams will get to stay on a 20-hour work week in the fall with workouts and drill work. So they're going to do the stuff they would be doing in practice. They're going to be in contact. They're going to be in classrooms. They're going to be in meetings. They're going to be in everything that they would normally be in, including workouts and drills, but they're not going to play games on Saturday.
We are now joined by Tim Brando. We're not. Okay. I thought that you were just putting him on hold. Sorry about that. We just tried to call him. Okay,
that's the latest. Craig. So, yeah, that's just the latest. The Big Ten is going to do everything except for play games, and the Pac-12 is already basically creating the road for them to not play in the spring as well, if there are not these rapid point-of-care tests readily available.
Well, it just goes to show you that they're
not playing spring football, dude.
Incomplete information.
They're not playing spring football. No. I just don't see it. The Pac-12 already sounds like they don't want to play spring football, and I think the Big Ten's just trying to basically save face as best they can. Like, no, don't transfer. We're still going to be working out. We're still going to do everything we would do. We're just not going to play in any games, like the reason why you really came here to play in games. We're not going to do that. But all the other stuff, the practice, we're going to have all that. What are you practicing for? Practicing for the spring that you don't know is going to happen or not? Like, dude.
Well, then, okay, so if it's just all backwards. It's all backwards.
It's a lot of really backwards decision making, and a lot of Chiefs a lot of Indians and not enough Chiefs, or a lot of Chiefs and not enough Indians? Which one?
Yeah,
Paul.
It's too many
Chiefs and not enough Indians.
Okay,
yeah, I don't know.
There we
That's
go.
too many Chiefs.
We can't use that anymore. It's not enough Redskins and too many Falcons, or whatever.
It was a good run, guys. I appreciate everything.
It's too many cooks in the kitchen is what it is.
Yes,
it's too many cooks in the kitchen.
There are two or three prongs, or the spider web to this. Mack Rhoades wants more time. There are those of you that think because he does that he wants to vote against football because of all of what's in front of him. He wants more time so he can have too many Chiefs in the kitchen. He wants more time because he wants more information, which means he's not ready to make a vote. Now, eventually, maybe they want to vote tonight. Maybe they need to do a straw vote tonight. Maybe they need to let's get a look around the room. Maybe they'll do what the Big Ten did and float out something.
Statement from the ACC. The ACC will continue to make decisions based on medical advice, inclusive of our medical advisory group, local and state health guidelines, and do so in a way that appropriately coincides with our university's academic missions. The safety of our students, staff, and overall campus communities will always be our top priority. We will continue to follow our process that's been in place for months and has served us well. We understand the need to stay flexible and be prepared to adjust as medical info and the landscape evolves. So that's not a no. That's hey, we're going to keep moving forward and see what happens.
If there's no college football,
just do that today.
If there's no college football, they're at Baylor University. There's nothing for the rest of the calendar year, pretty much.
Yes.
There is.
Look, there's either football and fall sports, or there is nothing.
That's what I meant.
More than the calendar year, especially if they can't get it in the spring. Which
Urban Meyer told some people on a conference call, spring football, there's no way.
He also had some weird shirtless guy in the background.
Yeah, I know. Steve Spurrier called in a few minutes ago, said the SEC and ACC just play their seasons and winners face off for the national title because one conference is going to win it anyway. Just always, just a little dig. It's a little bit of dig. Sam Kahn, by the way, yes, he was giving us, at least he will, among some others, and there are others as well. Jim Bertuno from the Associated Press, among some others as well on the Mac. And I don't know how many other interviews Mac does today. Doesn't matter. He did the one with us. That's all that I care about. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
Brian on Twitter, Sir Fahrenheit, said, I think it boils down to trusting your players, your staff, and your facilities, but not necessarily Rutgers players, Rutgers staff, and Rutgers facilities. And then he had a nice little knock on the Red Raiders. I mean, who thinks Baylor would roll into Lubbock and not come home with something communicable? So there was Sir Fahrenheit. And so that's a risk anytime you go to Lubbock, regardless of COVID-19, quite frankly. But, yeah, I could see where it's more or less worried about, what others are doing and if they're keeping up to the same high standard that you are. But I would think that would have to be something where whoever decides to move forward will be on the same protocols, will be on the same plane. So I think that would sort of eliminate some of that. And to follow up, Eddie Radosevich on the Tony Casillas tweet that I mentioned earlier, he did say that was misleading, and that's why I clarified and kind of framed it that way. And he said, you made the announcement about players this past Saturday returning early. So to who the texture was that also clarified that, I would appreciate it. And so that's why I was very careful.
That was Matt in D.C.
Yeah, Matt, thank you. That's why I was very careful when I was reading Tony Casillas' tweet about OU players leaving campus to say, hey, this could be kind of wonky, and it turns out it was.
It's so early on, and I know that the Big 12 has this big, huge meeting that's about to start in the next 8 to 10, 15 minutes. And I don't know if they will vote. Mack Rhoades on this station said he's not ready to make a vote. He does not have, he still does not have enough information in front of him. And so hopefully that means, now Dennis Dodd's CBS Sports Big 12 leaning towards playing the season. It's too early to decide as far as their response.
I'll tell you.
I agree.
Do you know how much guts it takes in 2020 America to get on a radio interview and say, I don't know enough yet?
Oh, man.
How many people that are in positions like that will do that? Not many.
Most of them won't even do an interview to begin with, and they will give their quotes on their feelings anonymously to Dennis Dodd and to all of these other college football reporters, because whoever anonymous guy is or whoever those people are, they've been talking a lot over the last few days, off the record, and with no names attached. So for Mack Rhoades to not have any anonymity and to do a full-blown interview knowing what he's going to get asked. I mean, look, Baylor fans, if you're not thrilled with him as your AD, I don't know what else you could possibly be looking for, because he's shown a lot more cojones and transparency and truthfulness and just honest, raw feelings than a lot of these other suits who just like to hide behind anonymity and are too scared to make their own decisions.
All right, Paul, nothing from Tim?
No, just keep going right to voicemail. I have a feeling he's probably doing another interview.
Yeah.
And as you know, Tim
Let's take a break then. Let's take a break because we got behind on one with Dr. Ackerman and then also with Mac. We have David Hellman and John McClain. We can move them around if we need. If Tim's ready, we'll get to him. We'll take a break. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations here at home to serve you. Waco, Woodway and Hewitt, China Spring, Martin, Hillsboro. Familiar faces making local decisions. Here to help you, your family, and your business. Whether it's great times or tough times, all of us need a bank we can count on. Great people with great technology dedicated to their customers and helping our area grow. Safe banking in person and use their online and mobile apps, and convenient drive-through and ATMs available at all locations. I went and drove through the ATM this morning. How about their first free checking? When they say free, they mean free. No minimum monthly balance, no monthly service charge, and unlimited check writing and unlimited debit card purchases. Plus, they've got the First mobile app where you can do your banking wherever you are, check balances, make transfers, pay bills, and transfer funds. The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations to serve you right here at home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's
Let
ring,
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
Every man knows that you got to get it right in the bed. Hey there, Jay from Pickup Outfitters here to talk about a sensitive issue and asking you, please, don't drive around town exposing your stuff. Please, cover that truck bed. This is a very serious form of truck nudity. Trucks without bed covers, and it's an easy fix. There are so many different types of covers depending on your needs and style, from folding, rolling, locking, retractable, anything from black to silver, even paint to match the original cover of your truck. Now, all these are hard, rigid covers, just like they should be. Now, there are also some soft bed covers, but you know. So don't be driving around with a bare truck bed. It's like letting people peek underneath your covers. It just ain't right. See the different types of bed covers at createacommotion.com/covers. Won't you help us end truck nudity? Stop by our showroom and see all our bed cover displays at Pickup Outfitters, just off of Waco Drive at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, back Sikkim 365 Radio. We do have NFL writers in David Hellman and also John McClain scheduled in the 5 o'clock hour, but Craig Smoke. What's...
Yeah, the SEC was one of the conferences that we know that has decided to, kind of wait this thing out and see what was going to happen. I just read to you a few minutes ago the statement from the ACC, which indicates they're going to continue to monitor everything, but they're moving forward. So we've got the Pac-12 officially out, the Big Ten officially out, the ACC officially moving forward, the Big 12, we have no idea, but it's 2-2-1. Because the SEC says in the last few minutes, Greg Sankey, Commissioner, I look forward to learning more about the factors that led the Big Ten and Pac-12 to take these actions today. I remain comfortable with the thorough and deliberate approach the SEC and our members are taking to support a healthy environment for our student athletes. He mentioned they'll continue to further refine their policies and protocols for a safe return and monitor developments around COVID-19 and a continued effort to support, educate, and care for our student athletes every day. So that's basically Greg Sankey saying the SEC is moving forward. So 2 are moving forward, 2 are stopping, and the Big 12 is the big question mark.
You could feel the emotions again. We heard Mack Rhoades on with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. We've had Dr. Ackerman for the Mayo Clinic, and now Tim Brando, Fox Sports, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Tim, well, we kind of knew what might happen today with the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Your thoughts on what's happening right now in college football?
Darkest day in my career covering the sport that I love most. Horrific, sad. I understand that there are incredible circumstances that are derived from an international pandemic, but we had 5 months, 5 stinking months to have a plan other than hope and wait, which is about all we got. This is a complete failure of leadership across the board. And I'm not being specific here. I'm just saying college football in general has failed in leadership because of the infrastructure that is not designed for the totality of the product. Everyone in a silo, everyone with their own epidemiologist, everyone saying they're being collegial and dealing with their partners, and they're not. They're absolutely not. They are, in fact, competing with the institution as well as the football team. Why would you have 5 epidemiologists for 5 power conferences and none of them share their information? Why would you have 10 conferences in the FBS, okay, and at no point were the group of 5 presidents and or commissioners invited into any of the meetings that were involved with the Power 5? Why would there not be medical protocols for all 10 FBS conferences to have as guidelines? There were none of those. Everyone was just fending for themselves, and this is what happens when you're fending for yourselves. And we've got so many layers of bureaucracy from conference to conference. It becomes really difficult without quality leadership, and we just don't have it. And it's not that the people that are involved don't want to do a good job. They're just not in a position from the way the sport is set up in terms of leadership to be able to affect it the way it needs to be affected. We need a czar. We need someone to work and coordinate and give purview to all of the conference commissioners so they can take all of the information from every corner of the country and come up with determinations so that something can be done in a unified manner. This is just another example of what I've been talking about for the last 15 years. Now, to be specific, I don't know if you saw much of the interview that Kevin Warren did today on the Big Ten Network, but I advise you to take a look at it. Dave Revson asked some really tough questions, and it unnerved the commissioner, okay, who's not accustomed to being in front of the microphone as commissioner of the Big Ten. You know, Jim Delaney was one of the, if not the most powerful man in college athletics when he decided to retire. I wonder today what he's thinking. I really do. One of the first things that jumped into my head was, I wonder what Jim Delaney's doing and what he's thinking right now. And, of course, the late Mike Slive was another magnificent leader. And interestingly to me, Greg Sankey, who's now, I think, in his 4th year since taking over for Commissioner Slive, in a similar situation after a hurricane when Florida and LSU had a situation with scheduling and where to play the game, I remember Greg looked a little bit weak in dealing with that as a first-year commissioner. Today, I thought, I saw him on Good Morning America, I thought he really looked sharp. I thought he looked like a proven veteran leader with some degree of gravitas and someone that was ready to say, you know what, they may have what they think is a good idea for the way they need to do their business, but I think we've got another way to do ours. And we're going to remain diligent, deliberate, and patient. And to some extent, by not having a game scheduled until September the 26th, they were not shoehorned into a corner by themselves as the Big Ten was. The Big Ten could have easily moved everything back to the end of September. They chose not to. So that may have forced their hand, you know, from a calendar standpoint, but that doesn't mean that they had to do it. That's what we're seeing right now across the board. And again, I'm not trying to, I'm sad, hurt, just like a lot of fans would be. And I think the players and coaches, I mean, my heart goes out to them because I know how bad they feel. So it's as if rug's been pulled out from underneath them. But my beliefs about what's wrong with college athletics and specifically college football, I think shine brightly. People that wondered what the hell I was talking about in terms of having a czar. We need one. Not to take any power away from these commissioners, but commissioners come and go. They change. And in this case, Kevin Warren was in his first year. And I think a little help from somebody that's empowered, not to take power away from the conference commissioners, but to coordinate and to capsulize some information that's going on in other places, to give fresh information and help and deal with some of the issues that conference commissioners really shouldn't have to deal with. It would really help in a lot of ways.
Tim, do you think that any of this that's happened will inspire the conferences to go, hey, we need to tear down this model and build it back up, or are they too set in their ways and greedy to really do that?
Well, I think that you can't be set in your ways and greedy when you've just lost how many million? Okay, you're hemorrhaging money now. You've just lost the NCAA tournament for a year, and in the Big Ten and the Pac-12, you're losing a college football season in the fall. That's a lot of revenue. That's a lot of revenue lost. I think the whole system needs an overhaul, absolutely. And I think once this is done, I mean, these guys have done a lot, and I know they've been working really hard and put together protocols and contingencies. And that's the other thing. The sad part, I hear from, and I see it on Twitter every day, from those that have been the doomers and the gloomers and have wanted to cancel all of our culture, including college football. It's this, it's that. You have no idea some of the things that have been done to keep the players safe, all for naught, because their seasons have been called off. The amount of money it took to keep those players once they came into camp, and some of them tested positively, and then they went into quarantine and were brought back and were nursed to health and are good and ready to go. And you guys know this because you're in Texas. The numbers are finally beginning to get better in Texas. Imagine that that's happening, and you find out, well, okay, well, we see some light here at the end of the tunnel, and now we're not going to play. It's just shameful what's happened to them and what's happened to college football. It didn't have to be this way. The coronavirus is horrible, and I understand that there's so much that I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I never played one on TV, so I don't. But I know this. I couldn't get 5 heart surgeons in the same room to agree on anything. Why could I get 5 epidemiologists in the same room to get them to agree? I don't understand how every conference had to have their own epidemiologist and no one shared any information, and there wasn't one ultimate guy that was helping guide everyone. So again, I go back to the leadership structure is flawed. It needs to be blown up and it needs to be rebuilt. And I don't think that the conference commissioners need to lose power. I just think they need help. We need some guidance. We need some help. Someone with purview, someone that can view the sport with a picture from, say, 30,000 feet and say, okay, here's what's going on. Here's what we're hearing here. Let's try to put that into place there and make something good happen. We don't have any of that right now. None.
Tim, I know we're all trying to make sure we're getting the proper information, and there's just so many reports to keep track of, but I did see a quote from Barry Alvarez where he said that as far as, the Wisconsin program and the Big Ten, even though they're not playing until the spring, which I don't know how much hope really anybody has for that, but the players will still have, 20 hours a week, and they'll have meetings, and they'll have workouts, and they'll lift weights, and they'll do all this. So basically they're going to do everything but play the game on Saturday, and I realize there's travel involved, but does that make any sense to you?
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You can say it. It sounds good in print. You think for 1 minute those players are going to stay put? I don't. Not the majority of them. Some will, some will. But those that believe that they've got a future beyond, school, they're making plans. And some that don't are going to be looking to play. The transfer portal was already clogged. Now it's going to look like the 405 between Van Nuys and LAX.
Yeah.
It's just, my God. I think he also said we're going to have immediate layoffs. And I think he said a week ago they were $100 million in debt. This is Wisconsin we're talking about.
Right.
Not a small program. They got over 40,000 students on campus in Madison. I've been promoting and telling stories about college football since 1985, and I've never felt worse than I feel today.
Yeah,
it's just so very sad. And again, it's one thing to know that something is out of your control, like an international pandemic. No one can predict that. No one can. Some things are way outside your control, but other things are within your control. And I just think we did a very poor job of controlling it or coming to terms with it. I haven't heard anything other than uncertainty and fear. Uncertainty and fear as it relates to why you can't play. Okay, but I need to hear more than that.
Right.
Okay, uncertainty and fear. And as it relates to how you do play, all right, show me how you play. And shouldn't we understand that you gotta find a way to get through this or that, as we have so many times before? Why isn't that the case now? That's the thing that's really tough about it.
Tim, it appears as if we had Mack Rhoades on, and in this day and age, I know a lot of people are now talking with their names and faces because decisions have been made in those two conferences, but there's been a lot of anonymity. There's been a lot of sources. I understand all that. I get how that works.
Yeah.
He just gave us 20 minutes and tried to explain in the way he has done this since he arrived in August of 2016 that he is just not ready to make a decision, and he wants more information, and he doesn't want to be forced into a decision. How huge right now is the Big 12 that has had their oh, God, moments over the years in what they might be able to do in this moment?
Well, it's there for them. I mean, all eyes are moving in the direction of the Big 12. And what hope there is, I think the numbers are something like 70-plus teams left, okay, at the FBS level that can play the game now that I think we've got 52 or 53 that if you add it all up, between the Mountain West, the Colonial, and now the big boys and the MAC that have opted out, there's a very good chance that in many ways the Big 12 could be seen as 2020's savior of the fall season. I mean, history could look at it that way if, in fact, this is what happens. I think the SEC and ACC are in lockstep. I don't think there's any question about it based on, if you notice these statements being made almost at the same time this afternoon by both John Swofford and then Greg Sankey, both being respectful to the Big Ten and the Pac-12's decision, but saying they'll learn from that, and our people are telling us this. Our medical experts are telling us that. So Bob Bowlesby remains quiet here, and understandably, I've known Bob a long time. He's measured. He certainly wants to get all of the information that he can from all of those that are in charge on every campus, including Rhoades there. But in truth, particularly given the negativity that you've been talking about in recent years, this could be a real chance for the Big 12 to be viewed as, for those of us that love college football, as the league that helps save the day. Because if the SEC and ACC don't have the Big 12 with them, I think it would be really, really hard for their presidents to acquiesce to the idea, the notion that, our people are smarter than their people, therefore we're going to play and nobody else is. If you've got three of the five big conferences saying, we're going to start this thing up and we're going to make this season happen in the fall, then I think you can say, all right, let's do it. But if you don't, and the Big 12 decides to pass, there's a very good chance that the SEC and ACC will do the same. So being in the role of linchpin, so to speak, the Big 12, I think, has a great opportunity here. But like everything else, fellas, it does come with risk. It's a risk reward. Colin Morikawa on the tee at 16 on Sunday, trying to drive a par 4, and if he can pull off the shot, he's holding up the Wanamaker, and he did. That's a golf analogy to a football story, but I mean, I think it applies. I really do. I just hope that the presidents of these institutions really look at everything that's out there, because I think it's so oftentimes the case. Everyone lives in a vacuum. It's such an insular world. One of my great criticisms of college athletics has been, and I think we're seeing it now with the NCAA's inability to come to terms with name, image, and likeness. Everybody's fearful of that now. The moment the Pac-12 kids got together and said, you know what, we want to address social injustice, I applauded the statement. I applauded the empowerment of the players. But, they clearly asked for things that they'll never get. But that's what anyone does whenever they're trying to grab anyone's attention or have been negotiating a new contract. Presidents shouldn't be fearful of that. They should embrace that. We do need to make changes and get into the 21st century in college sports. But I think in this case, the presidents, not many of them spend much time with the athletes. I don't know that they have any understanding of where these young men come from, their socioeconomic backgrounds, and the worlds that they really do live in. The vast majority of presidents, I really believe, don't. Some do, but most don't. And I think they really need to consider all of those factors. Last year, Joe Burrow was considered going into the college football season a sixth-round draft pick in the NFL. What happened after last year? He became the number one pick, signed a deal for $36 million for this year as a rookie with the Cincinnati Bengals. Even he said this the other day on Twitter. If I didn't get to play last year, right now I'd be looking for a job. And look where he is now. That's how much this means, that dream to those young people. And not all of them will play at the National Football League level, but most of them aspire to. Probably 3/4 on that roster at Baylor aspire to be a pro. When you take an entire season away from them like this, you're crushing a dream of a young man that spent, 9/10 of his adult life, not adult life, but 9/10 of his life preparing for this moment. I really hope and wish that they consider all those factors when they're weighing any decision that's in front of them. And yeah, I know there's medical things to think about, or there's liabilities that I know they have to be aware of. But also, I mean, how much reporting is there going to be of that kid who just can't handle all this new freedom that comes his way and needed that structure within the football program? And once it's taken away, his life goes upside down. I think they need to think about that too.
Tim, we couldn't thank you enough. We can't, because I know you've been inundated and I know you've been very outspoken. Appreciate your time so much, and hopefully, who knows, maybe there's a ray of sunshine here pretty soon. But thanks for your time. Thanks for your truth serum. I mean, the way you started, the darkest day in my career of covering the sport I love the most, horrific, sad. I understand circumstances from an international pandemic, but we had 5 months, a complete failure of leadership across the board. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
I hope to see you guys at McLean Stadium this fall. How
yes,
about that?
Absolutely, yes. And we will let you know when we're there. Thank you. That's Tim Brando from Fox Sports with us.
So here was Brian Davis of the Statesman, and man, it's so good to hear Brando's voice. He's awesome. He really is awesome. Brian, a lot of this is speculation and whatnot. We already had to toss out the Tony Casillas tweet, but at least we gave a little bit of a warning before that might not be completely accurate. But here's Brian Davis from the Statesman. He said, a huge wild card in the Big 12 decision process. The OU president is relatively new, and UT's president still has the interim tag. And these are two of the guys having to make the big decisions for the two biggest brands in the Big 12. So you talk about a little bit of pressure here. An interim president and a fairly new president. So it's not like we're dealing with David Bourne and, the same old kind of characters that we've typically been dealing with. And the Big Ten's, seen that as well. So a lot of new people having to make major, major decisions.
Yeah. How about Mack Rhoades saying to us that he had talked to the Dr. Ackerman?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's great. It's great that he did.
That he wanted to hear his side of it. He wanted to hear, and maybe that's a great thing in the end. Oh, who knows?
And if you want to know what that conversation sort of sounded like, at least in some ways, you can go back and listen to that interview, because I'm sure that Mack asked him a lot of the same things that we did.
In a day and age, and Craig, you ended the show with this yesterday, Ted Teague at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram sent that text about how he appreciated what you said. And Paul, we've been saying this. So many people in college athletics have been anonymous, anonymity, and or sources. Now, some are squawking now because the boat's out there. They're yapping now.
Oh, yeah, Barry Alvarez. Barry Alvarez
Mack
says.
Rhoades took a high, hard fastball under the chin.
Yeah.
And gave us 20 minutes.
And also said he didn't know,
and admitted he did not know if he could make a decision right now.
I want to say, in the world of politics, sports, that is rare for somebody in his leadership position to say, look, I don't know. I have no idea right now based on all these things.
Yeah.
And that's, you know what? That's a good thing to admit.
Right.
That's a great thing to admit. There's no shame in admitting you don't know something. There's shame in pretending you know something.
Which a lot of people do.
If Craig, if somebody came in here and shot you right now and ran away and you said, Paul, you got to take the bullet out, I'd be like, I got it. You'd be like, I would be pretending to know how to do that.
Right.
That's not what he's doing. He's saying, look, I need more information. And that is rational. We are short on rationality in 2020 America.
No, everybody's clamoring. You got to make a decision. You got to make a decision. Where's this timer that I signed up to be a part of to where I'm being forced to make a decision by August 11th at 6 o'clock? I mean, look, there's only so far you can keep delaying things. But in hearing him talk, he's just talking about like 2 or 3 days. He's not talking about pushing this to next week and then next week, I don't know, and push it again another. No, he said that he would like, if there is all of this uncertainty, 2 to 3 days after they talk to kind of let everything level out a little bit, calm down a little bit. Because if they do make a decision tonight, why are they making a decision tonight? They're making a decision tonight because they feel forced to make the decision.
And that's what Max said,
Yeah, and that's not what he wants to do. So I think that that's just really well thought out. I think it's clear thinking, and I think that's the way that it should be. Don't do something just because you feel pressured to do it. That's how people end up at jail, for goodness sakes.
That's how social media works. How many people have been fired because of the immediacy? Oh, my God.
Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst.
It's like, what was the last thing? Somebody did something, and like within 5 or 6 hours, they were gone because of the cancel culture. All right, coming up next, David Hellman, Cowboys, DallasCowboys.com. He normally would join us at 5, but Brando was greatness. We'll have David Hellman. We'll have John McClain. Hey, David Hellman's a huge college football fan, LSU fan. We'll get some of that from him next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. How did you start your day? The same way was, if I could just reach one of you. You're on your way into work this morning or whenever you're driving to work, and you feel like the clothes you're wearing are a little bit too tight. You don't feel good. You slept a little bit longer, and you're like, and I used to have this conversation with myself all of the time, and I was lying to myself. Man, I wish I would have started working out yesterday. Man, I'd like to lose a little weight. And you know what? I'd go through all the fads. Some of it would work, and then it would always go back to where I was. Miserable with my weight, and I could barely fit in. I was up to almost a XXX in some cases. Now I'm in a 36 pant, and maybe that's even too big. And now wear large shirts. Now, that doesn't mean too much to maybe some of you, but if I could reach one of you, start tomorrow. Go by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive. Walk through the door. Just tell them, walk through the door and say, David Smoke said you can save me. Ask them. Ask about a membership. I promise you, Christy London and Randall Corley, personal trainers, they can help you get kickstarted. It's helped me since March of 2013. My God, I know it can help you. If I can do what I've done and keep it off for now years, you can. I really hope I can reach one of you. I promise you, it will be worth your effort, your time to walk to the front door. I was a lost cause. And now I feel like it's part of my everyday. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses. But when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to the lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
The biggest summer sale is still on at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels in Waco. The summer clearance event is where there's still 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days on almost everything. The world's most awarded SUV is on sale. Jeep Grand Cherokee with 0 for 72 financing and no payments for 90 days. Or choose Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Renegade, or Jeep Compass. All 0 for 72. Update your ride and save at Allen Samuels.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI. Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Here is Pollard all the way in for 6.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Pretty powerful comments today. Mack Rhoades, Dr. Ackerman, also Tim Brando. We're not joined by David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. And yes, it would normally would be Cowboys, the NFL. But I know David's a huge college football fan. Tim Brando. David, Tim Brando just said to us to start the show, or to start his segment, darkest day in my career of covering the sport I love the most.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I hesitate toward hyperbole. I mean, yeah, obviously it really sucks what's happening, and even more so It's frustrating that, this has been 5 months coming. I think we've talked about this as far back as like April and May, and it kind of seems like the college football establishment is, they're acting blindsided by something that it seemed like everybody saw coming. I think that's what's really frustrating, is that surely there could have been more we could have done before multiple leagues canceled the season. At the same time, I want everybody to be safe. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of everything we're eventually going to learn about COVID-19. So, darkest day of my career or anything like that, I don't know about that. It's bitterly disappointing, but, we are still talking about people's lives and health at the end of the day as well.
David, I think my frustration just stems from there's so many just different sides to this. I never know what to think about anything when it comes to COVID-19.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I kind of hesitate to speak too definitively because I'm so far out of my depth when it comes to, the long-term effects, the short-term effects, the safety protocols, the feasibility of having a 120-person roster, not to mention playing games. I mean, there's so many elements that I'm not an authority on. And that's why, it's just this weird feeling where, like I said, I mean, it's bitterly disappointing to think that, 2 of the 5 biggest conferences in the country have called it a season. And, it sounds like the ACC and the SEC are doing the best they can to hold firm. But, we already went through this once in March with all the pro leagues, and it was like dominoes. So, I'm not going to be surprised if the other leagues follow suit in the coming days, no matter how hard they might want to play. But like I said, I mean, there's so much stuff we don't know. And like I said, yeah, people will tell you there's a 99% chance that you're going to survive, but what's it going to do to your lungs and your brain and your heart? And obviously those are very important things for athletes to have. So it's hard for me to say that it's a terrible idea not to play football, even though obviously as a fan, I really, really want to see it happen.
So David, what can you tell us about this Cowboys virtual training camp bubble?
Yeah, that literally just came down while I was waiting for someone to call me, which it's really not a very big surprise. I think I said that months ago, is that there are very few teams that are better equipped to handle this situation than the Cowboys. You have a state-of-the-art facility. They have a 5-star hotel built onto it. It's actually, it's connected by little walkways, so you don't even have to go outside to get from one place to the other. There's a world-class hospital facility from Baylor Scott & White right across the street. So, like, literally everything that a football team could need is on this little 90-acre campus that the Cowboys have up at the Star. So, it's not official. There's no league rule that can force players to stay in a hotel, but it sounds like a lot of members of the roster are going to do that, and it should enable them to create kind of more of a bubble atmosphere. So, that should help them keep things under control while they're in training camp. Like I said, it's not a very big surprise, but I think it's a smart idea.
Well, it's really no different than what they'd be doing right now in Oxnard anyway.
Right, it's exactly. And that's, obviously a big reason why they go to Oxnard is for the weather, but another part of it is to kind of isolate themselves, get everybody together. It's good for camaraderie, but it's also kind of good for keeping a handle on a 90-person operation. So, and then, add in the concerns with COVID. I actually, going back in the spring, I think we had a lot of conversations that if you can get everybody to California, then it would make it easier to kind of create a bubble-like atmosphere out there. Obviously, getting 150 people to California is easier said than done. And then you look at it and say, well, we can do this right here in Frisco just as easily, and it looks like that's what they're going to do.
David, I love some of your tweets. I really do. Even by Twitter in 2020 standards, this week is a lot.
And it's Tuesday.
People tell you gotta take a step away from the dialogue every now and then for your mental health, and I think I'm seeing that today. Cause I'm dead serious. I mean, with everything that's obviously the NFL's gearing up. We'll be going. Practice starts Friday, so there's all that, and then it seems like there's a new twist to the college football saga every 15 minutes, and the Democrats announced their vice president, and on top of that, leagues are canceling their season, and everybody's mad at each other. It's a wild time, man. It's obviously it's really unprecedented, and it can be a lot to deal with mentally. There's no doubt about that.
Anything else, guys?
Just David, as training camp opens, are you excited that you get to talk about some sort of practice, whether you get to watch any of it or not?
Yeah, no, I mean, they're going to go out there and practice at like 8 o'clock on Friday morning. So the Cowboys will be on the field doing football things. And, that'll be a welcome relief. Of course, just like everything else, it's going to be really different. Typically, Paul, y'all have been out to training camp. I mean, out in Oxnard, you can get right up on the players. You almost have to watch out that they don't run over you. But, I have a feeling we're going to be watching from several hundred feet away this year. I think it's going to be a lot different, but it'll be nice to get back to some sense of familiarity.
Thank you, David. Appreciate your patience with us today. Thanks a lot. That's David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. We'll have John McClain in just a second. I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about the college football stories of the day. To kind of just bullet points of everything from today, Big Ten, Pac-12, seasons are done. Everything.
Try to play in the spring, but that won't happen.
Baylor AD Mack Rhoades, and, of course, the Big 12 has already begun what could be a lengthy meeting today, conference call, Zoom meeting, whatever you want to call it today, ADs and presidents. Mack Rhoades, to quote him, he doesn't feel comfortable making a decision today because he doesn't feel like he has enough information in front of him, and he doesn't want to be forced into making a decision. He's one vote.
Yeah, he just wants like a couple days. He wants them to talk it out tonight and kind of go over everything and not really make a decision based on emotions and riding this wave of emotion created by the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. So there's no reason they have to vote tonight if people are uncertain. So he's advocating, and him being one of them, so he's advocating for a little bit of a delay and not a long one, like 2 to 3 days, like I said.
And then on top of that, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Stars are losing 2-0 in Game 1 of their playoff series with the Calgary Flames at the end of the first period. So
is that a home neutral game?
I don't know where anybody's playing anymore, quite honestly. I have no idea where anything is happening. I just know there's bubbles and there's all sorts of other stuff that I'm trying to keep track of. But, yeah.
All right.
Stars down 2-0 after 1.
John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. He'll join us next. Hall of Fame writer, Baylor alum, Waco native. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
The big summer clearance event is still underway at Allen Samuels in Waco. Now update your essential transportation needs with 0% financing and no payments for 90 days on almost everything in stock. Brand new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cabs, ready to roll with 0 for 72 and no payments for 90 days. And Ram Tradesman Express Quad Cabs feature up to $8,500 in values. We'll save you thousands at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeview Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
And the app, Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, 4,000 plus strong. Had somebody today send me a direct message on the Sikkim 365 and mention, hey, I found you. And it's great. Appreciate that. John McClain joins us. John McClain joins us, Hall of Fame writer from the Houston Chronicle. John, it's been a hell of a day, my man. Hell of a day in college football.
Well, I think you're going to be able to say that for a few more days while other conferences try to figure it out. It's going to be very interesting if conferences play and they have no problem with COVID-19. I don't think that'll happen, and then the other ones trying to play in the spring when they would turn around and play another one in the fall. I would imagine there would be a mass exodus to the NFL. Let's talk about the NFL increasing the draft to more rounds because so many players would want to come in. So it's unprecedented in history, and I feel terrible for the players, administrators, coaches, fans, everybody. But it's something that hopefully it will only be a one-time deal, and we don't have to do it again next year.
Yeah, John, we've talked about every possible angle on it. You know, from my perspective, if they're going to play, say 5-6 games and stop in the fall and not have a college football playoff, what would be the difference than doing that in the spring? Yeah, there's just so many different ways to look at it.
I know this: if they do go this spring and we still have this same problem, then they're going to have to shut it down again, of course. And I feel bad for all the sports, especially the sports that are not the big revenue producers. They're going to suffer too. So it's just such a terrible, terrible time. And I'll say this about at a time when you don't have income coming in from football, I hope the big donors that give so much money will be even more giving to help out their schools.
John, what's the latest on the Texans training camp and just the plans moving forward?
Yeah, the NFL's full speed ahead. One reason the NFL can go and some colleges can't, the NFL is spending millions of dollars to create and work kind of a bubble, and they have everything you could possibly want for protection. And the Texans and the Chiefs put on the pads for the first time Friday. So we'll figure out about a week after that if they've had positive tests. Texans have had no positive tests so far. They're one of like 5 teams. I took my first test yesterday. I'm one of the 6 people, one of the 10 media people who'll be able to watch practice. And so yesterday I went over and went through the process of taking my first COVID-19 test. I did not get a call saying I was positive. That's good. I got to do another one Thursday, another one Friday morning. If all 3 are good, I'll be able to start going to practice and repeat the process next week.
Did the whatever they stick in your nose go all the way down to your tonsils?
Not anymore. They did that at first, but as the guy that's overseeing it for the Texans, he said things change by the week about what you can and you can't do. They do not go up there and tickle your brain to make your eyes water that they had to as recently as 3 weeks ago. And now it was a piece of cake. And they're getting a TOC team. Remember what that is called, but they get the results in 15 to 30 minutes, and that'll be great for everybody. As it is right now, like the Texans, the place that they send their test to, BioReference, is 1.5 miles from their facility. It's by the medical center. It's next door to the Oilers' old training facility. And so that's really easy for them to get back results quick. If they send the test in the morning, they get them back at night. Send it at night, you get it at the next morning. So it's very convenient. But if they start getting these quick results tests, and they won't do it till they're in the high 90s like the nasal swab is, and everybody will start using it. They won't do it till they reduce the number of false positives and false negatives.
John, the Cowboys are doing like a bubble. It's a voluntary bubble, but do you think more teams may adopt that philosophy, at least for training camp?
No, every team has a hotel available in training camp if their players want to use them. The only one that has asked all the players to go there are the Saints. You cannot make them. It's not part of the collective bargaining agreement. So they do it, and that's fine. But they got to rely on trying to get players to be mature. And what's happened in Cleveland, they've now had, since this started, 3 players and 2 of their best pitchers. I cannot understand the union is so powerful in baseball. These 2 guys, Plesac and Clevenger, who are ignorant and stupid and put their teammates at rest, including Carlos Carrasco, beat leukemia last year, so he's high risk. They still get paid while they're in quarantine. And I heard some muttonhead on MLB radio trying to say, well, they didn't go to strip clubs like that they shouldn't be fined, when a guy said they should be fined making excuses for them. But, we're going to have that football too, since we've had it in baseball, Lou Williams, and basketball. And what's so bad about that? In basketball and hockey, they're not having positive tests now.
John, go ahead, Craig. I'm sorry. I jumped right in front of you.
John, the Texans with training camp, I know you had a piece out on Will Fuller earlier today or here in the last hour or so, and you've written a lot about various angles, but what are a couple of the main things on top of mind for you as far as what you're looking at, and curious about heading into Texans training camp?
Will Fuller, their 5th-year receiver, is in a make-or-break season. Last year was contract. He's never played more than 14 games. That was as a rookie. When he played last year, when he was on the field, they averaged 5.6 more points a game than when he was off. That tells you how valuable he is. That was 10 games. So he said he's done some new things to try to stay healthy, having to do with posture, walking, and running. He went to a new guy, a fitness guru here, who a lot of the big-time pro players go to him. So we're going to see, because his goal is to play 16 games. And without DeAndre Hopkins here, the first time in his career, he's got a chance to step up, make a lot of big plays. He's had 17 career touchdowns, 18 have been 30 or more yards, but he just can't stay on the field. But he's got a chance to make a lot of money if he can play 16 games.
Is he a big body? Isn't he a big body? Like a nice.
No, he's 6 foot 185.
Okay.
He looks thin, and he's really, he ran officially a 4.32 at his combine handheld 4.28, and he's still fast, and he's got great on-field rapport with Deshaun Watson, but he's had so many injuries, including last year, hamstring, growing a sports hernia surgery after the season. It's so many, we can't keep up. He said, I don't dwell on injuries, and I'm starting to say, well, we in the media sure do, because we have to. Somebody's got to dwell on it.
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and you hear about a guy that can be a number 1 or a number 2 receiver and all the things. This is his chance. It's a contract year. You think that maybe he plays through something that otherwise he would not. You hate to feel that way, but that might be the case.
His injuries have been major. He's not one of these guys, I call it, you get shampoo in your eyes and you got to miss a month of the season. His injuries are major. He just has a knack for getting hurt. He's injury prone.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Take him, guys.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle, with us on Sick 'Em 365 Radio.
So we decided to be nice and not ask about the Astros. Is that what we were doing?
Yeah,
there?
I was going to bring that up, but we're at 5:49, and the suspension. Cintrone is the coach, right? 20 games. He got 20 games. There's a chance he may have said something about somebody's mother, because you know that he's the one that instigated the fight. The pitch that hit, what's the guy's name? Laureano. That didn't start it, although that could have been the
third pitch in the series that it hit him in the second in that game. So,
but Cintrone created.
Yes.
Escalated the issue.
Yes. And I agreed with Landry Locker yesterday when we had him on. He said, he should be suspended for a good chunk. And 20 games is, a third of the total season. So, and if I were Cintrone or in the Astros and he said, I'd like to appeal, I would tell them, we would like you not to do that.
Yeah. He released a statement, said he accepted the suspension, will learn from it. He said he never referenced Ramon's mother, but his actions were inappropriate. He apologized, said coaches are held to a higher standard and should be an example to players, and hopefully others learn from his mistake. Dusty Baker, meanwhile, said that he can still be with the club during the pregame and batting practice portions, but he can't be around for the actual game or the postgame, so they're going to bring in another assistant hitting coach for those activities for game and, I guess, whatever in the postgame. But Dusty Baker said that they threw the book at us big time. It is what it is. We have to deal with it. Hopefully this brings our guys closer together, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. What do you think the letter grade would be on Dusty Baker so far?
Well, according to Landry Locker, he should be expelled from school.
Yeah, he's, not doing great. And again, A.J. Hinch, his problem wasn't that he was, actively involved in this. It was just he was too chicken to do anything about it because Jeff Luhnow was really pushing this from the top. And, his only defense was to break a monitor for a game in one single game. It's pretty easy to get that replaced.
Yeah. Well, they got a nice performance out of McCullers last night. So they're in it. They're in the thick of things. It's just maybe not what was expected, but who really knew what to expect with all this?
On this day of negativity with a lot of college football, Tom Pelissero, among others, John, the NFL again informed the clubs the prohibition on tryouts has been lifted. That's good news. There are some great videos out there. Paul, did you have the Ricky Bobby audio?
I didn't. It's hard to. It's just the scene where he's trying to convince people he's paralyzed.
It's the funniest damn 15 seconds I've ever seen in my life. And Ricky Bobby is the Big Ten, And then I don't know the name, but the other guy.
The Michael Clark Duncan is the SEC, and then
The
John
other guy's
C. Riley is
the
the
ACC.
Yeah.
That's funny as hell. But Reddit College Football on Twitter, there's a picture of a woman who's laying on one of those things that you would have at a cabana at some really nice, rich hotel resort or a pool. And she's there with a cocktail in her hand, and it says Big 12. And on the right of her and left of her are two guys with these big, huge
like palm tree
fans, the SEC and the ACC, as they try to
wine and dine
this woman.
AKA the Big 12, there's so many like little things slipping out here and there. I did see a Texas reporter who put out that he was hearing secondhand, which I don't know. I would think they're still meeting, so I don't know how you would even be hearing anything out of it, but who knows how that all works. So he was hearing that the majority was in favor of playing and that there were some no's, but that there might not be a vote. I don't expect a vote, honestly, tonight, based on what Mack Rhoades said. But it does sound like if there's no vote, they're just going to keep moving forward and then do it again at a later time. I know we'd all like to know, but I would prefer them to take their time rather than just telling us no today because two other conferences decided to say no.
And yet again, no names, but Mack Rhoades jumps on for 20 minutes and unloads emotions. Kelly Hines, who covers Tulsa, Philip Montgomery, former Baylor offensive coordinator, head coach at Tulsa, lost his 76-year-old mother on Monday. Lengthy battle with Alzheimer's led to him to advocate for Alzheimer's awareness in honor of her fight. They raised thousands of dollars, so our thoughts and prayers to former Baylor offensive coordinator. That does seem like forever ago. It was before the Michigan State Cotton Bowl when he left to take the job at Tulsa.
Well, shoot,
he's been around there quite some time.
5 years ago.
Yeah. Is it 5 or it seemed like it's longer than that.
Because 2016 was the Grobe year, right?
Yeah.
And he left before Browse's last year.
No, 15 would have been Orlando. So 14. So his 14 was Michigan State.
So 6 years.
Many of you on the text line, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Thank you so much for all the feedback. We're going to come back with you another break here, Paul. Okay, keep going. All right. I don't even know. I had I just threw it in the trash.
It's 2-1 Stars down to the Flames now. So Calgary up 2-1. Stars must have just scored here in Game 1. You've also got a Blue Jackets and Lightning 2-2 in double overtime right now. Game 1. So a double overtime Game 1 in the Stanley Cup playoffs is pretty cool. That's always a lot of fun. But, yeah, Stars trailing by a goal, even though they just scored. Still a long way to go, only about halfway through the second period.
To kind of clarify the suspensions on that Astros and A's, Centrone, the coach, got 20 games. Laureano got, what, 5? 6? Okay. Joe Kelly got 8 for sticking his tongue out.
Yeah. Well, and they're trying to get players not to get in fights.
I know.
They don't want them to high five. Fighting is,
and that was one of those. They got pretty close to each other. Deion Sanders leaving the NFL Network as an analyst. Apparently will coach somewhere. He's always had it in his blood. He's tried it with some schools that he's been at. Prime Academy, that was a disaster.
He tried to get a pretty big job.
Dave Aranda will have an 11:30 tomorrow Zoom media availability. That's on. That
so
remains
coach.
to be on.
Yeah.
Y'all playing?
Then this is a great Bruce Feldman. We had him on last week. In fact, when I turned on the app earlier today just to turn it on, and I heard the Bruce Feldman interview we had from last week, he did a story today. Feldman, Washington State's Dallas Hobbs answers multiple calls to action. Did you hear about this?
No.
He's a defensive lineman at Washington State. He's up. Go to @Hobbs Designs, HOBBS Designs. He's a nobody, basically. He's a player at Washington State. He's not Trevor Lawrence. He's not the big name like Justin Fields. He's not, he's just a guy.
He's a lineman in college football, so he's not that popular. Yeah.
However, he all of a sudden had a missed FaceTime call from Dylan Bowles of Stanford. This was over the weekend. This is like Sunday. And then all of a sudden, he got a call, and, this is Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, right? The Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. He said, we need you to come up with a graphic. This guy does graphics. And Hobbs Designs, in one of his tweets, is, I had 20 minutes to save the world. He is the one that came up with that plaque-looking ACC, Big Ten, SEC, all those conferences, of course, 2 of them. We are united. We want to play with the inscription of whatever was on it. He came up with that in 20 minutes, and basically that started the surge from Lawrence and everyone else around the country.
Yeah, and also I saw one of his tweets where apparently if it were not for him, the guy who is the director of new media for UCLA would never even have gotten into that line of business. He said Andrew Cho is the director of new media for UCLA and said, had no interest in graphic design, let alone Photoshop, until I met D. Hobbs, wouldn't be in that position. So he's inspired some people along the way as well, and has, I guess, always had a little affinity for this. But, yeah, kind of the unknown, I don't know if I go hero, but unknown kind of hero, I guess, in a way, in this whole players' revolution.
Yeah. All right, so this is from Evan Flood, who covers Wisconsin. Paul Christ on other conferences moving forward and other teams potentially trying to poach Badgers players. It could happen. Haven't spoken to anyone on current roster who's talking about it, but it's been brought up. To think it's not happening would probably be naive. And Chris added, when the MAC canceled their season, phones were ringing from MAC coaches who were trying to find spots for their players.
Yeah, it's going to happen, dude. It's going to happen. And
which is why they're still going to try and practice.
Exactly right. They're going to want to keep those kids, hey, no, we're going to play in the springtime. Just hang out here. I'm telling you right now, if I'm a Big Ten or a Pac-12 player, I'm having no faith in a spring football season. I mean, that's just me. But I have very little faith in that. By the way, hat tip to Dylan for passing along. Stars have tied it up. It was 2-0 like 10 minutes ago. It's now 2-2 with under 7 to play in the second period. So that might be some viewing for you out there before I guess there's baseball going on right now as well. But, yeah, it's all crazy. It's I think there's going to be a massive amount of transfers. And then the thing becomes, like, if those 3 conferences decide to move forward, and the AAC, we're leaving them out. They're not a Power 5, but they're moving forward to play. Yeah. So they could, in theory, be like the 4th Power 4, I guess, in this whole equation. And they've got Houston in there. They've got Tulane. Those are all hot spots, but they're moving forward regardless. So, yeah, I'm very, very intrigued by what the Big 12 does. I hope they at least give it a shot, but I think we're going to be waiting probably a couple more days to hear that. That's just my assumption. If we hear something tonight, that's great, but I don't think there's anything wrong with maybe taking a couple more days to try to process this all.
All right. Thanks to Dylan Chapman again for a lot of throwing some bones our way when it comes to various stories along with what he did, but also by putting up the various podcasts as well. A lot of you that have been on Sikkim 365 Premium who reached out to us throughout the show today, thank you as well, that are on the forum section or in the forum section, in the chat room, on the text line.
So, a couple things I got to pass along.
Go.
Drew Davison saying sources confirm Big 12 could release its revised conference schedule tonight if presidents take no action. There's one. Rodney Smith, university head coach, has been named the district's new assistant AD, taking over for Jack Stanley. That's from Nick Canizales. Stanley had been in that position for 34 years. So head football coach at university, Rodney Smith, now also assistant athletic director.
Okay, there you go.